First day of pads, we about to get active with it. Hey, shout out to RaiderNation, everybody out here supporting us and everything else. Let's get to it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I think it went pretty well. I mean, you never know until you really watch the tape, but the intensity was there. I think we were flying around, as a team and everything. So, we'll go back and look at it, but it felt pretty good.
I think we just have a professional group of players. They care about getting better. We don't have any turds. We got guys that want to be here, that want to win, that want to change this place. And so I'm really happy with that.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
Mic drop moment right there from head coach Clint Kubiak when describing the team. We have a professional set of guys here. We have a professional team and no turds, meaning no guys that are all about themselves, meaning no guys that don't want to go and put the work in, meaning no guys that don't want this organization to get better. We talk about culture. We talked about character. We've spent a lot of time over the offseason talking about that, the type of people that John Spytek and Clint Kubiak and company were trying to put into the locker room. And some people took it one way or the other and didn't really appreciate what they're talking about. But now when the pads come on, when training camp happens, when practices start going and you start to see and hear how this is being put together, you understand what they're talking about when they're talking about high character guys. It's not just guys that are, real good dudes and they're never going to get in any kind of trouble and, this, that, and the other. Choir boys, like a lot of people like to call them. They're dudes that have the best intentions for the team. Guys that aren't going to put the team in a bad position. Guys that are going to be held accountable. And that's what Clint Kubiak is talking about with the group of guys that they had. And today was the first day of pads. You heard Thomas Booker talking about let's go. And Jeremy Chin saying, we had guys flying around. Again, using that we word. We got guys flying around, and we got to go back and look at the tape. But pretty much felt like everything went really well. And it's only 5 days of practices. They had a practice on yesterday as well, and they'll have another practice coming up on tomorrow. So, it's going fast and furious, right? I mean, we were just talking about getting to the first day of practice. Now we're already talking about basically getting into the second week of practice. So before you know it, it'll be August 13th, and they'll have that preseason game versus the Arizona Cardinals. We'll be talking about a game. Not a practice, but a game, right? Just to kind of see how this team is starting to look, and then, boom, they'll be in H-Town for another game on the 20th, and then the 27th to close things out against the 49ers at Allegiant Stadium as well. And then it'll be time to cut the roster down to 53 men. It'll be time to set the practice squad and get everything ready for Miami, right, the first week of the 2026 season. It'll be go time, and hopefully sooner rather than later we'll learn a lot more about this team as we continue with this every single day process. It is Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920 on this Monday. Really feel good about what we saw earlier today. We feel really good about the opportunity to be with you for the next 3 hours and the guests that we have coming up on the show, as we always do. Some really good guests, including Kirk Morrison, Tackle for Loss TV, Raiders broadcast, longtime NFL and Raider linebacker as well. He always makes us a lot smarter. He'll join us at 2:30 and, talk about what it means to have the pads come on. Talk about how that offense led by Clint Kubiak can help out the defense, and something that I talked to him about last week at practice was talking about the defense not creating turnovers, which has always been one of my big bugaboos, is that they need to create more turnovers. Well, when you have an offense that can score, you have a defense that's allowing them to take chances. Right, and so that's something that we'll talk to him about as well. But it's always great to have Kirk Morrison join the show, and like I said, make us a lot smarter. So he'll join the show coming up at 2:30. At 3:30, Omar Ruiz from the NFL Network. He was there at practice yesterday. He sat down with Clint Kubiak. He sat down with Max Crosby, was able to observe practice. He was there along with David Carr, and there was a lot of really good stuff that they had going on out there at the practice facility, and that's just how it's going to be. You're going to see, people from the national scene come to practice pretty much every day. There's going to be someone from a different outlet. We saw, Omar Ruiz. We saw David Carr. Saw Albert Breer. He was in town on Sunday as well. Monday Morning Quarterback, SI.com. And these guys are all making their rounds, making the tours of going to each one of these camps and just kind of getting as much information as possible, putting a piece out, and then, boom, going on to the next camp. So not a bad life. But Omar Ruiz will join us at 3:30 to talk about what he saw and more importantly, what he heard about this Clint Kubiak-led team and Max Crosby and his mindset. They had a really good conversation. I got to sit right there on the bleachers that was kind of set right next to their setup, and they had a really good conversation with Max yesterday as well. So we'll get Omar's thoughts coming up at 3:30. At 4 o'clock, I had an opportunity to catch up with Caleb Rogers following practice, little one-on-one action. I'm going to start to do that more often. So I look forward to that. We did that a lot last year during training camp, so we're bringing that back. So really good conversation with Caleb Rogers. He's a guy that's he's a really good talker, but he's really a good explainer, right? I mean, he really, he breaks it down in a way. I remember even last year when he wasn't playing and we kept wondering, when's Caleb going to get in? And he would tell us, I still need to do this, I still need to do that, and really be able to break it down, very descriptive. So he's a fun conversation. So caught up with Caleb Rogers today. Supposed to talk to Tonka Hemingway following practice tomorrow. So that'll be something to look forward to as well. And like I said, shout out to the Raiders for making a person available each day for me following practice. And we should be able to do that pretty consistently from now on. They just had to get kind of the first few days of training camp under their belt. Everyone's got requests. Everyone needs this, that, and the other. And these guys are all just trying to get into training camp and get into training camp mode like the rest of us are. So now there's a little bit of a set schedule and everyone's kind of used to how everything's going to go. It's a little bit easier to make these things happen. So 4 o'clock, Caleb Rogers one-on-one. You'll hear that. And then at 4:30, as we do football right, you'll hear a little bit of that conversation that Omar Ruiz and David Carr had with Clint Kubiak on yesterday as well. So we're locked and loaded, man. We got a big show lined up for you. Kirk Morrison at 2:30, Omar Ruiz at 3:30, Caleb Rogers at 4. And, of course, we'll hear from you throughout in the meantime, in the between time, at 702-365-9200. That is also the number that you're going to need for the word of the day. We need you to text that in. Again, 702-365-9200. And Ari, today or this week, the trip is
Yellowstone.
What trip is it?
I was waiting for you. If not, Yellowstone National Park or the Grand Canyon National Trip.
Okay, perfect. There you go. So we only have 2 more weeks of this left. Yellowstone or Grand Canyon National this week. And then, of course, we're going to close out with the very best. We say the best for last, which is Hawaii. Trust and believe. I won't forget that one. But this week, really good trip. Yellowstone or Grand Canyon National. And if you don't want to take the trip, you can always take the cash. It's brought to you by Terribles, and the cash is $3,000. So, Ari, what is the word of the day?
It is refresh. REFRESH. Refresh.
Nice. There it is. It's just that simple. Refresh. And that's what we're trying to do is help you get a little refreshed, get a little bit of R&R before you got to get back to the grind and obviously football season and who knows how if the kids are back in school at this stage of the game. But we're trying to hook it up. Like I said, summer of fun. Take the trip. Take the cash. The word is refresh. REFRESH. 702-365-9200. Before we get into the opening drive, we got to hear from our guy E-Rob. The weekend was important. The rest of the week's going to be important. But today is important as well, and that's why?
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out. Because I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. So right now, let's go ahead and jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Pata Law. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
So funny, I was over at Fox 5 earlier today after a training camp, came to the house real quick, and then headed over to Fox 5 and recorded an episode of Sin City Beat, just doing a little bit of Raiders training camp. Ryan McFadden, also Vince Sapienza, who you can hear on the morning tailgate with Clay Baker and Vinny Bonsignore as well. We had that conversation with Mike Davis, and we're getting back into a more of a routine to be able to talk about the Raiders on Sin City Beat. So always look forward to that. But one of the questions that Mike threw at us. As a matter of fact, he texted us with the question before we ever got there, just so they can, TV, they got to get the graphics ready and everything. They got to have a little bit of prep time. So he asked the question, who or what has stood out to you the most about training camp and what has either frustrated you or disappointed you? Now, I want to bring that to the table, but I understand that for the most people, you're actually basing it off of what we're saying and what you're reading, right? So what has stood out and what has even been disappointing. But with that being said, I know how smart Raider Nation is, and I know what Raider Nation is looking for, just like I know what I'm looking for when I see training camp each and every day and what I go out there. And sometimes I go out there with a specific subject on my mind that I really want to lock in on. Sometimes I'm just open for anything. Like some days, like Sam Gordon asked me today, what are you locking in today? And I was like, well, it's the first day of pads. I want to see what the defensive backs look like. Because it's one thing to look really good without the pads on and be able to cover the wide receivers and stay in their hip pocket. It's another thing to have that physicality, and in particular, Hezekiah Masson. So I'll throw the question out there to you at 702-365-9200. Again, from your vantage point, and maybe you've been out to practice and you've been able to see a little something, but I know that that's not the majority of people. What, from what you've heard or read, has stood out and got you most excited about this year's camp and what has frustrated you so far? Again, only 5 practices in, so it's nothing that's earth-shattering where, oh, my goodness, this is never going to work. This team isn't going to be successful. It's just a process, and things have to build. So for me, and it's funny because on Fox 5, I talked about Hezekiah Masses and the fact that he's a 5th-round pick and what he's been able to do. He has stood out to me. He definitely has stood out to me, and he stood out to me again today with pads on. I thought he looked good, and he stayed in the hip pocket of the wide receivers, including Dante Thornton Jr., who I know there's a lot of people having conversations about him right now because he hasn't quite popped. And, Malik Benson has been looking really good, a 6th-round pick. So, there's guys like that are getting talked about, and then there's guys like I said, like a Dante Thornton or even a Jack Bech that they haven't been getting talked about in a glowing fashion. So I know that that's one concern that a lot of Raider Nation has, but I'm going to take it a step further. And it's really, we talked about it on Friday. We talked about it a few times, but it continues to stand out to me based off of everyone who either goes to the podium or people that we talk to. Like I talked to Caleb Rogers today for a really good, amount of time. It's the fact that these dudes, no doubt, are really, truly bought in. That buy-in has been incredible to me. And when we hear guys like Trey Tucker, we heard A.J. Cole on Sunday say that they're all swimming in the same direction, and there's more people swimming in the same direction than he's seen with his time with the organization. And we know how long A.J. Cole's been with the team. And that wasn't any shade, as he mentioned. It wasn't any shade to anybody else. It was just that the vision is clear, the message has been sent, and the players are picking up on the message. And however Clint Kubiak and company has phrased it and worded it and presented it to the players, they're in. So when I talk to Trey Tucker and I ask him about the buy-in, and he says 1,000%, 1,000%, and that's from the top to the bottom, that to me stands out. When I talk to Caleb Rogers one-on-one today and I ask him about the buy-in, and he says, yes, absolutely, and he's a second-year guy. So we're getting all kind of ranges from different players, right? Trey Tucker's going into 4th season. Caleb Rogers in his 2nd season. A.J. Cole, he's had multiple contract extensions. So he's been around. It just, to me, that really stands out as a huge positive. And the reason it's a huge positive is because if you have that kind of buy-in, you have a chance. If everyone is working for the collective, like we heard Clint Kubiak say there's no turds, it's not about individual awards and individual accolades. It's going back to the we. And I see guys helping each other out. I see Eric Stokes helping out the young secondary when we're out there, and we're seeing one-on-one drills, right? The one-on-one drills between the wide receivers and the corners and safeties was fantastic today. It was probably the best part of practice, just seeing them go, against each other. And Eric Stokes be the veteran guy in that room, that corner room, and him bring, a guy to the side and say, hey, this is what you need to do, or this is how you get better. You can see them trying to coach each other up. Some guys are just, you can't cover them. Brock Bowers, it don't matter who you have on him. He's going to get open at all times. But it's just that, to me, is something that you want to see, and you want to see it early on. That's the thing to me. It's not like it's just a team that is all fighting for each other. It's that they're fighting for each other so early on. And hopefully they build and plant this right, plant the seed correctly, so when adversity hits, because right now, as Joe DeCamillis told us on Sunday, they're still in the honeymoon phase. Hopefully they plant the seed right, and when they get to the adversity, when they hit a couple games that they may lose, or a coverage gets blown and a touchdown is given up, and they can still stay together. Hopefully they create this bond that's strong enough where they could they'll stay together and continue to fight for each other, not against each other, but for each other, with each other. That's what you're looking for in this team. And that's why when I see and I hear them all talking about we and the team and the direction that we are going and how encouraged they are by the fight, like I said, I got this conversation with Caleb Rogers coming up at 4, but one of the things that stood out to me that he said was, he's in a competition. He's fighting for a starting position. And he even let it be known, if I'm starting, I'm starting. If I'm not, I'm not. But I'm there. We are growing as a team and bonding as a unit, as an offensive line. So, JPJ has a great opportunity. I have a great opportunity. It was all a collective. Instead of just him saying that he's, in this competition, he's doing everything he can to win it. Instead, it's, hey, this group and this offensive line group, We're all on the same page. To me, that means a lot. So that has been really probably the biggest, I think, positive from this training camp so far is that the buy-in is there. It's something that, Lincoln tells me about all the time when he goes to training camp. He'll sit there and watch, and, of course, we're observing what the players are doing. But he also observes what the body language looks like, how much effort the guys want to give going from station to station, drill to drill, what they're looking like in teams. Is it a bunch of me guys, or is it a bunch of guys that are there for the overall collective of the team? And so that's one of the things that I start trying to pay attention to and seeing how these guys work with each other. That, to me, has been one of the biggest deals. That's really stood out to me. Again, I mentioned Hezekiah Masses. That's what I said on Fox 5. I'll air later this evening. I said Hezekiah Masses, my big question was, what is he going to look like when the pads came on? Was he going to be able to match their physicality? I thought today he did really well. I asked Clint Kubiak about him, and he said, well, I didn't see him. I got to go back and look at the film, but there weren't any balls going over his head, so mainly he wasn't getting beat. And that's a positive. He very much looks the part. And we saw even Jamad McCoy out there. Him and Masses were running together at one point of the practice. And I've said it before, and we got Kirk Morrison coming up at 2:30. The new law firm for the Raiders could easily be the law firm of McCoy and Masses. Those two dudes could end up being your cornerstone corners for some years to come. Obviously, it's going to all depend on the health of McCoy, who also was out there today in pads. He's been out there 5 practices in a row, which is great. There's been some days where you can see, that he's been, somewhat limited on what they're doing because they have a plan for him. But to see him out there every single day putting in work is encouraging. And these young corners look the part. They look like they're very comfortable in what they're doing. McCoy is a fantastic talent. We all know that. And Mass is a 5th-round pick. All of a sudden, you got a 5th-round pick that looks like he might be a day 1 starter. And I know it's only August 3rd, so I don't want to get too crazy and say that, because there'll be a website that'll tweet it out immediately. Flagship station radio host said that the 5th-round pick is going to be a day 1 starter. Look, he's got to earn that. He's got to earn that. But when you're running with the ones and then, rotating in and out, I think Darian Porter. Listen, I don't talk a lot about Darian Porter. I thought he looked pretty good. I feel like a lot of these guys are showing what they can do. They all have an opportunity. Even the young guys from last year that didn't get a lot of burn, they're getting an opportunity right now to show what they can do. Tonka Hemingway, I've mentioned I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. He saw him running with the ones. Saw him, in and out with Adam Butler. All of a sudden you're looking at a guy in Tonka Hemingway who had 4 sacks in like 5 games last year. So you see him running with the ones. It's like, well, okay, hold on. So I think it's encouraging just to see the young dudes out there and looking like they're comfortable. Malik Benson, another one. I would say, for me, one of the disappointments is, and this is something that I talk about all the time, is that I haven't seen enough PBUs yet. I haven't seen enough turnovers. I haven't seen the ball be taken away yet. Now, I know these guys are still getting comfortable, and they're still working. And it's encouraging when there's not a lot of turnovers, because then you feel like the offense is doing really well. But I would like to see some more anticipation. I would like to see some more PBUs. That's why the one-on-ones were really good today. Seeing the one-on-ones and seeing some of the defensive backs play that role and anticipate and run the route for the wide receiver. There was one rep where Eric Stokes was running, and I forget who he was going up against. But I thought he played the coverage really well. I thought if there was going to be a penalty, it would have been at the very end when he maybe had grabbed a little bit, but they called it early on. They called his coverage looked great to me. So he might have had a couple choice words for the officials. In a plain way, of course, right? Him and the official were laughing about it afterwards. But, that's the competitive nature of these guys, right? They're working on their craft. Eric Stokes looks really good in coverage. I would say he looked really sticky today, which is also encouraging. Now that the pads are on, this is when you start to see what these guys could do. Steve Weiss, who's a guest on the show all the time, always tells me that, man, there's a graveyard full of football players that couldn't make it once the pads came on. Malik Benson will not be one of those guys. I'll go ahead and say that right now. Malik Benson, the 6th-round pick out of Oregon, he looks the part. He had separation, and then he had separation, right? Even with the pads on, he looked the part for sure. I don't know what that means for the the pecking order of what he's going to end up being this year, his rookie year. But to me, he's getting the same attention that Dante Thornton Jr. got last year. Remember when we used to come back from practice every day? It's like, man, Gino to Dante, man, they're working on that connection. And he's going to be a big play guy. You know, he's going to be stretching the field. He might not have a ton of catches, but he's going to have those big plays. I used to call him DK Metcalf without muscles, you know, because DK Metcalf is just built differently. But some reason it never really came to fruition. After really week 1 against New England, you didn't see the ball go his way a whole lot. When it did, there wasn't a lot of positive that would happen. And so Dante's trying to get back on the right track. But right now, Malik Benson is playing that role. So I want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. Again, I know that most people are limited on what they, can see, what they can hear, whatever the case may be. I know you're reading a lot, depending on, whoever you're reading it from, Adam Hill or, Paul Gutierrez or Sam Gordon, Sam Warren, anyone who's putting out a lot of training camp recaps, or if you've had an opportunity to be out there yourself. What has stood out and excited you the most so far about camp based on what you've seen or what you heard, and what has frustrated you or disappointed you the most so far, knowing it's only 5 practices in the book? 702-365-9200. This one from Just Win Will. What's up, Q? What's up, Ari? What's up, Nation? Q, I got a question for you. Could you please ask the players you get to interview this, what does Ride for the Brand mean to them? Thanks in advance. Have a great show. Go Raiders. It's funny. It's funny you said that, Just Win Will, because Caleb Rogers actually mentioned that in the interview that I did with him. I didn't ask him, but he brought it up. So 4 o'clock. That's a tease. That's a nice little tease for that interview that I have with him at 4 o'clock. He actually brought up, riding for the brand, what that means. So yeah, that's cool. But I don't have no problem asking these players what they think that means or what that means to them. I guess it's probably the better question. Diego in Arizona said, Q, I'm excited. Masses had first-team reps. You had a guest that said if a 4th round gets the first one start in the season, that's already great value for a pick. I'm disappointed Brock is the only standout receiver. I know he's great, but if he's out for some games, then who's the next man up? That's a really good question, Diego, and a really good text. Thanks so much. And, yeah, that was who was the guest that we had on that was talking about that? If a 4th-round pick and he's a 5th-round pick, gets one start, that's already a great value. Oh, that was my analytics guy. Now, how come Dave Bartu. Thanks. Sorry. I don't know why I was blanking on him. I've only been rocking with him for so long, and now I forgot his name. But, yeah, Dave Bartu was saying that just from the analytics point of view, if, you get a guy that's a 4th-rounder or a 5th-rounder and he gets one start, that's already a great value. Hezekiah Masses is going to be – he's going to be busy, man. He's going to be busy. I really feel like the Raiders got them a special player. And I want to say ABA Ivan Davis is the one who told us about him well before the Raiders ever drafted him. I know he's a Bay Area guy, watches a lot of Cal football, and I want to say that he, brought his name to the party well in advance. Now, to your point about Brock is the dude. Brock is a guy that we can come back and talk about every single day because he is that guy. But to your point about the other guys, they do have to step up. I think the Speedy Naylor has done pretty well so far, limited amount of time. Trey Tucker, same thing. But and Malik Benson, I can't leave him out of the conversation. But somebody's got to separate, themselves as that guy. And it's funny, I was talking to James Jones at practice today. I always like to pick these guys' brains because they've been there, done that. And, he said, hey, we might have a guy in this camp right now that's an absolute stud and standout. That's why they go through this, right? So you can learn what every one of these guys could do. But somebody has to emerge. You could try to go with wide receiver by committee. You could try to go, everyone's going to just be part of the collective. But if you don't have that one guy that I don't want to say takes the pressure off of Brock, but is a threat across from Brock, it could be a little dicey, especially if Brock gets a little dinged up, like you mentioned, like he got dinged up last year in week 1. So but again, this is why they're out there right now. They have a collective of guys, and they all have that opportunity, and that's what James was saying. He's like, hey, I'm just looking to see what these guys can do, what these guys look like right now, and see which one could emerge as, maybe a big-time player. And they've got plenty of time to come to the party and decide who that guy's going to be. But somebody or a couple players really do need to step up and say that they're going to be this guy consistently, at least a really good compliment to Brock Bowers. That could be Speedy Naylor. That could be Trey Tucker. That could be Malik Benson. I know it's asking a lot of a rookie, but, these guys come out of college way more talented than they used to, and they're able to produce way earlier than they used to. And like I said, so far, I don't want to put too much on the rookie, but so far, so good. He's been as advertised. So, that's something to pay attention to. But that, having a concern at that wide receiver position, that's not a bad thing, because again, we want to see if someone's able to really emerge from that group and show to be the leader of that wide receiver room. Jimmy in Vancouver said, "Hey Q, I'm really disappointed. I'm really disappointed the 2 receivers drafted last year that they haven't taken the next step. I don't know if they're going to be bust or not, and I'm really excited about our cornerbacks that we drafted this year. I think we have some studs in the making." That's Jimmy in Vancouver. Yeah, I wouldn't go to the point of these guys are going to be bust, but they have to show themselves, right? The first year you could be swimming a little bit. The first year you're still trying to establish yourself, and I would say that they had limited options, especially Jack Bech last year. But now's your time. Now's your time to shine. Right, you got to go out there and show what you can do and show who you could be consistently, and that'll be a big deal. So let us know. Good text there. I appreciate you, Jimmy. 702-365-9200. What has stood out and excited you the most so far about what you've read or seen or heard about camp, and what has frustrated you or disappointed you the most so far? Let us know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. Kirk Morrison, Tackle for Loss TV, Raiders broadcast, and longtime NFL and Raiders linebacker joins us next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
Yeah, definitely. It's a full circle moment, and it's so beautiful. I went to a Raiders game 2018. That was my first NFL game. Monday night, Raiders lost the game, but I've been influenced by the players, teams, and the fans. And Raiders always has great fan base, and I was so excited to cheerleading the players up together. But now I'm on the a player side, so it's really exciting to me.
Las Vegas Raiders color analyst Kirk Morrison joins us now on Unnecessary Roughness.
Kirk Morrison, who not only is on the Raiders broadcast, not only is a longtime NFL linebacker, Raiders linebacker, he got Tackle for Loss TV, but he's a man of many talents, and apparently he's scouting the Cardinals right now out at Cardinals camp. And Kirk, my understanding is it's pretty hot out there, about 117. You doing okay out there in that heat?
I'm out here hotter than you, Q. Can you believe that?
No, because it's been hot out here.
I'm out here in a spot that's even hotter than Las Vegas right now in Phoenix, Arizona. But,
wow.
Yeah, but they practice indoors, so it's a little bit different. They don't have the schedule like the Raiders do. They're actually practicing indoors, and I'm kind of surprised, too, why the Raiders haven't practiced at Allegiant yet. Now, I know that practice will be coming up, I think, on August 11th,
yep.
But Raiders could be utilizing and putting a different schedule if they wanted to practice inside of Allegiant maybe 1 or 2 times throughout training camp. So, look, that's the one thing about going on these training camp tours. You kind of see how different teams and organizations operate. And the Arizona Cardinals said, we would rather us getting up early for that 7:30 a.m. practice like the Raiders do. They'd rather practice in their own their own stadium, in their own building, indoors.
Well, I'm glad that the Raiders do it early because I could be there every day. So selfishly, I want to be there every day. So I'm good with it. Yeah. But, I did want to ask you, one of the things that stood out to me about the Raiders camp so far is the buy-in that we keep hearing from every single player, that they're 1,000% bought in. How important is that they're bought in this early in the Clint Kubiak run?
You want the real answer or you want the political answer? Which one?
No, I always want the real from you. Always the real.
The real answer is you're playing for a new head coach. So he doesn't know you from, like my buddy's like, I don't know you from McKenna Paint.
Yeah.
So you better be bought in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you bought in? Oh, yeah, I'm bought in. Because there's this process that you go through. I played for 4 coaches in 5 years in my Raider tenure when I was there. Mm-hmm. And every year I had to buy into a new system. Why? Because there was a new coach, a new philosophy, whether it was Norv Turner, Art Shell, Lane Kiffin, Tom Cable. every player is going to buy in. That's the real answer. I mean, look,
Okay.
I've heard of all the press conferences from a lot of the players, and everybody's going to say they're bought in. Well, you got to be bought in because you got a new coach. The buy-in is different when you're in year 2, year 3, year 4. You know what I mean? Like maybe like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, like where the buy-in is there because you've seen and you know the results. So it's year 2 and year 3 and year 4 within the same coach. Honestly, Q, is where the buy-in will come in because right now guys are buying in, but you got to buy in because this is the new regime. Clint's going to be here, what we believe, for. I think he signed with a 6-year deal, I believe. Like, that's what the hope is. So you're going to buy in because this is the newness. But on the opposite side of it, I will say the way that he's also gone about it and what he's accomplished in the last, what are we in August now? Super Bowl was in February, so 6-7 months. Yeah, the buy-in is also there because of the resume that Clint comes in with and the success of hoisting a Lombardi trophy with a football team. That's also part of where the buy-in and his approach come in with the players as well.
I love it. I love it. Great breakdown right there. Kirk Morrison is with us here, Raider Nation Radio 920. Yeah, Kubiak went on today and said that, they don't have any turds. They have all professional players. They have all guys that, they all have the same vision. And, what does that mean to you when you hear the coach say something like that?
To me, I think it's just a great job by John Spytek and his staff, along with Clint Kubiak, of bringing in good dudes, football guys. That's the one thing that I noticed even last year going into this year, that the guys who they've brought in terms of draftees in the early parts of building this roster are all good dudes. I mean, you get a chance to see them and interview them inside the locker room and just around the facility. And there's not like a bad seed or a bad apple. Like, a guy you got to monitor, like, man, this guy could really be a cancer in the locker room. They don't have any of that. They've got dudes who I think they just want to play football, but they're high character guys too, man. Like every guy you walk around, they've got a story. They're very highly intelligent. And I think that's not by accident. That's kind of what they've sought out in terms of bringing in these types of players. And I think you can trust a team like this too, because you don't have those knuckleheads. Now they got to go out there on the field and produce, because it's one thing to have a lot of good guys, but now it's that time where you got to go out there on the field when the season starts and show them, hey, it's kind of get a little nasty as well.
No doubt about that. And, yeah, they did that today a little bit with the pads coming on. And, what about, when the pads come on for the first time as a player, what is that feeling like for you, knowing that, hey, we can't go out there and be reckless. I can't hurt the guy next to me, but it's now real football. The pads are on.
Yeah, think about it. Some of the Raiders, especially the young players, and it was funny because I was talking about this with a couple of those Cardinals players as I'm doing a training camp tour. This is their first time putting shoulder pads on since January 4th. Was that the last Raiders game? So they hadn't put shoulder pads on since January 4th, or that last game of the season. So, yeah, it feels different. They've been practicing in shorts and just helmets, the underwear Olympics. It's, a lot of guys who just kind of just fly around and practice is different. But, when you put the pads on, this is the time where a lot of football players turn into basketball players in high school, right? This is where the physicality part comes in now, and this is where certain players kind of rise up a little bit. This is where players tend to separate themselves a little bit, and the coaches are well aware of it as well, because some guys who, when you're not, able to put hands on guys, you don't necessarily have those pads on, some guys are going to excel. And then all of a sudden you put the pads on, some guys vanish. It's like, hey, where did that one guy go? You know what I mean? Because this is a part of the game that we really, really like. This is the part where you can really evaluate now how good a player is within your system, within your scheme, and what you envision for them during the season.
What have you thought about Hezekiah Masses? I've talked a lot about him, the 5th-round pick out of Cal, and he just looks the part. And even today looked the part with the pads on for the first time.
Smooth. Very smooth, stays on top. He is willing to learn. I love seeing him when he comes off the sideline, and the first person he's talking with is, Eric Stokes. It's Polo Mao. It's Jeremy Chin. It's one of those young players who's getting a good opportunity right now, rotating in with the ones, but he still wants to learn more and more But the bigger thing is what I always look at with a guy like Hezekiah Masses is that, are you afraid? You know what I mean? And he is unafraid. He's not scared to go out there and go against Brock Bowers or Jalen Naylor or whoever, the wide receiver is, whether Trey Tucker, Dante Thornton, Besh, whoever it is. He's like that rookie who's jumping up to the front like, let me go, coach, let me go. And I love that about him, man. So he's, again, this is now a part where we want to see. We know what he looks like in the coverage aspect, and he'll continue to grow in that part. But the physicality part is something that we want to see him now, because that was what people talked about at Cal about him.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't tackle a lot. You know what I mean? And he's more of a slider build. And so now in this part of the of training camp, this next phase with the pads on, you can see more and more. But I've been impressed with him so far. I've also been impressed with Jamal McCoy. I've been impressed with Darian Porter, who I feel like he's like an afterthought so far.
Yeah.
But he's been playing solid so far because, he's just a pick of a year ago. So I kind of like where the secondary is. They got some good competition, and I don't mind the rotation right now of different guys as we continue to go out and battle. I just hope that we get a chance to see them in the preseason game.
Yes. No, that would be great to see those guys, especially McCoy. I've been impressed that he's been out there every day. I know that they have a plan for him, but he's been out there every single day. He was out there today, and we even saw him and Masses out there together for the first time. We haven't seen them out there at the same time, but we did today. I think that's a positive step forward for sure.
It is, and that's what I hope the preseason is really all about. I mean, Eric Stokes doesn't have to take another snap during his preseason because he's already on the roster. I know what Eric Stokes can be, and I know what I think he can be going into this season in terms of taking the ball away. The reps really need to go to those younger players. I want to see more of Darian Porter. I want to see more of Masses, right? I want to see more of Jermod McCoy. You know what I mean? I want to see more of Greedy Vance. I want to see more. Look, we didn't even talk to Cameron Richardson, but he may have a role because of what he does on special teams. So as I look through the roster, get these guys more reps. And honestly, that's what I'm kind of seeing, Q. Like I said, the other day I was at Rams camp, and I had the chance to watch him. So this is where I get to see, it's one thing to watch Raiders camp, but go see other teams that are also having camps. And you kind of compare and contrast how other teams operate. I'm looking at the Rams the other day, and, you see players who you kind of know are going to be there, Devontae Adams and Myles Garrett and those guys, and they're treating them a little bit differently because their focus is getting to the season, getting into a deep playoff run and move on. And so the way they kind of treat Myles Garrett, I'm thinking, are the Raiders, can they treat a Max Crosby like that? Like, I love Max to death, but I think I want to see Max Crosby get to the regular season and then get deep into the season to where he's still as fresh as can be. So Max is terrorizing practice. I see it when I'm there, and you hear about it. Could we take some of those reps off Max? I want to know more about Malcolm Kuntz and Kwity Paye than I want to know more about 98. 98 is going to be ready. He's good. Max, you straight. Hey, you ain't got to prove it to me. You don't got to prove it to me. You don't got to prove it to RaiderNation. I know what you're going to be on September 13th versus the Miami Dolphins. But I want to see more Kuntz, right? I want to see more Kwity Paye. I want to see more of the guys who are going to be a part of this rotation on that defensive front. Let me see more Kieran Crawford. Get him some more opportunities out there. So that's the one thing that I would say right now when you're talking about just all the guys. We talked about the young corners, but I'm also just talking about how you can – the guys who are going to be on this team, take some of those reps away, because you're not losing anything, by the way, but you're gaining more reps and opportunities for younger players who you're really going to count on this season.
Kirk Morrison is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. I'll ask you the same question that Just Win Will wanted me to ask the players when I get a chance to interview them. What does, in your opinion, ride for the brand and play with shocking effort mean to you?
Oh, well, playing with shocking effort is something that I love. That's when you can watch the game on mute, and yet you can still hear it. Like you can still see it. You know what I mean? Have you ever done that before? You ever watched the game and you could hear the hit, but it was on mute?
Yes.
But you still know how loud it is. You see the pads popping. Like you see guys, and you don't even know the score of the game, but guys are bouncing up and down, high-fiving, just doing everything that they need to do. That, to me, is shocking effort. Like shocking effort is something that you see, you can feel, and you can hear. Mm-hmm. That's what that element is. And then on the opposite side of it, riding for the brand is kind of like playing for the name on the front of your jersey.
Right.
Like that's what riding for the brand is. When you are part of and I said this to the guys too the other day when I talked to the team just about, media, how to conduct yourself. Hey, guys, be cautious. I'm not telling them anything that they don't know, but just try to give them one more note, one more key to think about. And I told them, like, everybody in here, guess what? You're part of Raider Nation. Mm-hmm. You are, when you hear that, once a Raider, always a Raider, that is real, fellas. That is real. So not only are you playing for that name on the back, but you got to ride for the brand and the guys who came before you, the guys who are going to come after you, everybody in this building, the fan base. That's what riding for the brand is. That if you ain't got nothing to play for, understand, you got a loyal fan base of people who want to see you succeed. And they there whether you win, whether you lose, whether the season is bad, the season is good. They want to see you compete. They want to see you give maximum effort. And those are the people who are going to love you. That's riding for the brand. That is the brand of Raider football. And if you do that, trust me, they'll always love you. If you quit on us, trust me, we will let you know. And you will not be a part of it. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I absolutely do. But, it's funny. It's really a full circle moment because we've been talking a lot about the we and the I. And, if you're riding for the brand, you're riding for the Raiders, which is we, and you're not worried about the I. And that's what really Clint Kubiak has been talking about is we're taking the I out of the vernacular, and it's all about we.
Right.
So.
Yep, I love that. Like I said, I take a lot of the pointers I get from Clint because that's the message that he's given to the team, and that message also has to reiterate to the fan base. And so I try to be an extension of that when it comes to Clint, just let everybody know that, hey, when everyone asks you the question that we've heard a million times, hey, so what do you think about Fernando? You think Fernando goes on plays? Is he going to start? We will reveal it. It will reveal itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It will reveal itself, people. Like, let's just not even talk about it now. It will reveal itself with a lot of other things that when it comes to the team.
Exactly. And you see that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying not to focus on Fernando because it's a whole team to talk about. There's so much to talk about. Yes. So, that's what we're doing around here on Unnecessary Roughness. We're doing our best to worry about the entire team, not just one player. Well, Kirk, fantastic stuff as always. I know that you're out there in the 117-degree heat in Phoenix, but stay hydrated, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good, man. I'll be back at practice this week. So let a couple days get settled in with the pads on and have more days of evaluation as, it gets ready. Like I said, I'm here in Phoenix. They're playing a football game in 4 days.
That's wild.
In the Hall of Fame game. So, it's very interesting, man, how quickly this thing is coming. Preseason is upon us.
Absolutely. Well, keep up the great work, man. You're holding it down, and we'll catch up.
Sounds good, man. Talk to you later, Q.
All right, my man, appreciate you. Great stuff right there. It's always great stuff. Kirk Morrison, Tackle for Loss TV, Raiders broadcast, longtime NFL Raider linebacker, and he's on his training camp tour right now, which finds him in Phoenix, Arizona with 117-degree heat. Yes, thank you, Raiders, for doing it at 7:30 in the morning. One, the heat is manageable, and two, selfishly, I get to be out there for every single practice, which is a blessing. I don't care if it's Saturday. I don't care if it's Sunday. We will adjust. And we will be there so we can tell the stories to you. We hear from you next at 702-365-9200. What has stood out to you and excited you the most so far about camp from what you've read or what you've heard or what you've seen? What has frustrated you or disappointed you the most so far through 5 practices, including 1 padded practice that was today? Let us know your thoughts. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Looking for the positives, looking for the negatives. What has stood out and excited you the most so far about what you heard, seen, read about camp, and what has frustrated you or disappointed you the most so far? 702-365-9200. It is RaiderNation Radio 920. Your texts, your calls, we'll take them all. Omar Ruiz from the NFL Network will join us at 3:30. We just had Kirk Morrison join us in the last segment, and as I say it all the time, he makes us smarter each and every time he joins the show. Really good stuff from Kirk, and hopefully that ride for the brand and play with shocking effort answer that he gave us, was a good one for you. Just win, Will. And I love the fact that that just when Will asks that question all the time, and, I will if I catch up with Tonka Hemingway like I expect to tomorrow, I'll ask him what he believes that it means as well. But I thought Kirk broke it down really well where he said, it's especially the ride for the brand. You're a Raider. You're representing Raider Nation, right? There was a handful of fans that were out there today, and they were excited and fired up and, showing the Raiders some love. I saw Dylan Lobby during stretches kind of laughing and smiling, not laughing, at anybody, but laughing because it's like, man, there's not even that many people there, but they're loud. They're showing love. They're representing. Some people are dressed up, and it's 100-something degrees outside, and they're dressed up, fired up, trying to show love. Raider Nation rides like no other, and so just to see that passion from the fan base, and even me getting to chop it up with a few that are there at the practice observing, it's just different, man, and it's special. And so to hear him talking about that you're riding for the Raiders, you're riding for all the ones that came before him, and obviously you're going to ride for the ones that are going to be there after you, and still they're once a Raider always a Raider. That means something. And it's funny because that's now that it's been said, it's been thrown out there. And matter of fact, our teammate Brandy Flores is the one who asked Kirk Cousins about what the motto for the team was, and Cousins is the one who said ride for the brand, play with shock and effort. That's what Clint Kubiak revealed. I remember when I asked him that at the scouting combine, he said, "Yeah, I knew this question was going to come up. I want to talk to my team before I reveal it." Cool. I respected the hell out of that, and that's why he was taking the eye. He planted the seed. Think about this. This first-time head coach planted the seed back in February at the scouting combine, and even once he got the team, that we're going to take the eye out of this immediately. It is all going to be about we, because the teams that are about we are the ones that are successful. The ones where there's a bunch of individuals doing individual things, yeah, you're going to have guys that are going to stand out like a Brock Bowers, a Max Crosby, and others, right? They're going to stand out, and they're going to get individual love and individual praise. But as long as they're out there working as a team and as a unit, good things could happen. And that's exactly what they're doing, and that's the same message that we're hearing from all the players post-practice. We're hearing from the coaches as well. We hear from you next at 702-365-9200. We kick off hour number 2 of the show. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
I think it's really important that it's those guys that define it. There's things we talk about in team meetings, but words are really just – they're just words, So I think the most important thing is we go watch our tape, and then we talk about what is acceptable and what is not, what effort looks like, what it doesn't look like, and then we let the players go set that standard. So it's their game, not ours.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
Clint Kubiak from earlier today just talking about the standard that the players have set. Yes, the coaching staff has set a standard, said that they want to ride for the brand, play with shocking effort, expect 100% effort every time these guys go out there, expect them to go out there and play fast. But the players are dictating how that goes and what that looks like. And Clint Kubiak has, referred to this multiple times, including today, when he said, hey, this is their team. This is their team, right? They'll go out there and set the standard. And the good thing is some of the takeaways from what he had to say earlier today is the fact that there's a bunch of dudes in that locker room that want to get this thing turned around. They're not a bunch of dudes in the locker room that just want to collect a check and just want to go out there and have fun for 18 weeks and 17 games and say, hey, that was cool, and have a nice little cool career. I always talk about loving the game of football or loving what football could do for you. And look, both are okay. Both are fine. Right? There's people that love what radio does for them, and then there's people that love radio. Right? There's a difference. Right? And that's what he's saying. And John Spytek said that to us not this last year, but the year before at the scouting combine. Hey, look, you don't have to love and have a passion for football. You just don't have a room on this team for you. Because the guys that they want are the guys that love the actual game, love the process, love the results, want to be winners. And not that everyone doesn't want to win, but there's certain thing that burns in your belly, a certain desire. I say it all the time. Alphas hate losing more than they love winning. And some people say that that's not a real thing. It's an absolute real thing. An absolute real thing. Because that loss will ride with you way longer than that win will. Or that failure that you had, or that mistake that you made that will stick in your head way more than all those successful moments that you had. You think Fernando Mendoza doesn't think about those incompleted passes that pick six he had against Greedy Vance had on him yesterday in 7-on-7. I'm sure he thinks about that more than the pass that he made to, Malik Benson across the middle that Benson took to the sideline and took it to the house. Yeah, that was cool, but that's what he expects. That's his standard. Going back to what Clint Kubiak said, the players, they set their standard. They set their effort. They create the team's identity. Those guys like that, Max won't. I mean, he'll be happy about the sack that he got or the TFL that he got, but he'll be bad about the one that he missed. He'll be pissed about the one that he missed. That's just what those guys are. Genty will be angry at the hole that he missed, or someone tripped him up. God, how many times have you seen that shoestring tackle, and you've seen that running back or that player just get up and they just know, man, I was right there away from taking it to the house. It's always those that'll ride with these players a lot more than just the successes. And so again, going back to Clint Kubiak talking about the player standard, their effort, they are creating their team's identification. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We threw it out there to you. What stood out and excited you the most so far about camp from what you've seen, you've read, you've heard, and what has frustrated you or disappointed you so far? Remember, it's only been 5 practices and 1 padded, which was today. 702-365-9200. Got this text from Sean. The thing I love is Fernando seemingly learning from any mistake and growing every day. Heard he had a very good day today, even though Kirk also had a good day. The bad I say is I'm sure it's by design, maybe being saved from behind the shield, but the lack of content. I've seen so many teams putting out more content than the Raiders and haven't seen much by us, but I'm just being selfish, I guess. LOL. God bless and go Raiders. Yeah, there's a few things to that when it comes to the content. They will definitely put out some more content, but sometimes you'll see, and I've had this question before, well, how come I see, touchdown passes and I see this, 11 on 11 from other beat reporters or whoever's out covering their team for other teams? Every team has their own set of rules on what they allow to be filmed, what they allow to be tweeted, and the Raiders have a very set, what they do. And when the film is able to roll and when we're able to tweet stuff out. And, there's been some years where we've actually, tweeted consistently throughout the course of practice, but we just weren't able to put film out. But, now this year it's even, hey, after a certain period, you put your phone down and, you can do all your tweeting after practice. So it's just every team has their own set of rules, and that's fine. We don't have any problem following the rules. If we do, there'll be a place for us, and it won't be at practice. It's just you got rules for for everybody. So that's what they do. But I'm sure that they do have plenty of content that they're building up for, like you said, behind the shield and their own about stuff that they have going on the Silver and Black network that they have created over there at Raiders.com. So thanks so much for that text. Definitely appreciate you. And you're right about Fernando learning too. He definitely does learn. He has moments where he's, still looking like he's thinking, still looking like he's trying to figure things out, and that's expected, right? He only got a handful of practices, but, just like we saw in college, he'll make a mistake. Everyone's going to make a mistake. But the thing is, do you make that same mistake twice? Do you make that mistake consistently? Is that something that you just can't, get past? And that, to me, I don't think you're going to see too much of that from Fernando. I was asked today at the TV station, if Fernando doesn't pop and he's not a really good quarterback, what would be the reason? And my personal opinion was the organization failed him. Because I think that he's got everything that you want. He's accurate. He's got it between the ears. He's got a level of want to. He's doing everything he can to better himself each and every day. And I think that the only reason that he would fail is if the organization doesn't set him up for success. And what I mean by that is have the offensive line in place, have the weapons in place, have a competent play caller. And I believe you could check a lot of those boxes, and they're working on checking all the other boxes. The play caller, we know you could check that 3 times. Offensive line, they're working on putting that thing together right now. Weapons, Brock Bowers is incredible. Who else is going to step up? Genty, we all expect is going to have a real big year in year 2, but who else is going to step up? Those are boxes that still need to remain to be checked. But to me, that's the only way that Fernando fails, is if the organization doesn't set him up for success. And I believe this organization is doing everything they can to make sure he's set up for success, even if that means he doesn't start the beginning of the season like a lot of people want him to do. 702-365-9200. We do want to hear from you. Let's go out to the phone lines to a very patient Snake Man. What's on your mind, my man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Q. I don't say this enough, but I truly appreciate you taking my call. I guess sometimes I take it for granted. I'm just going to get through it, but I really appreciate you guys, and letting us kind of get through and talk a little bit. But I was, wanted to make a little and it's easy to make comparisons with wide receivers and whatnot, but I just want to give you two wide receiver comparisons. I'll give you I ran it by those guys this morning real quick on a text, but Adam Thielen, in his rookie year, by the way, he had 8 receptions for 177 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, Jack Bech in his rookie season had 20 receptions for 224 yards, no touchdown. So, for people like you, maybe like just a little bit down on Jack Bech, let's see what this second year withholds with him, or should beholds for him, because, there's plenty of receivers, those first-year guys. It's really hard unless you're an absolute stud coming out of college. And by the way, Adam Thielen, similar profile, 6'1", about just under 200 pounds. Best is about 20 pounds heavier, maybe. Similar size, athletic profile, speed-wise and whatnot. So let's just see. Let's see if Jack Bech can kind of, have a breakout, not a breakout year, but at least have a productive second season. And then the next guy, which is really interesting to me, if you recall, last year, Seattle, under Kubiak, they had Torrey Horton, a 5th-round draft pick in the 25 draft. Torrey Horton he played 8 games. And he had 5 touchdown receptions and 1 return touchdown, and then suffered a season-ending injury. If Horton had not received that injury, if not gotten injured, it's possible Seattle may not have made that trade for Rashid Shaheed, in the second half of the season, who, obviously they needed someone in the return game. But my point is Malik Benson and Torrey Horton, again, very similar athletic and physical profiles. So it's very possible that Kubiak has some plans for Malik Benson in a return game. And, just maybe that guy who just fills in once in a while and gets a big touchdown when you least expect it. Thoughts on that?
I like it. Snake Man, thanks for the call, man. That was really good insight right there. And, yeah, by no means am I down on Jack Bech. That's for sure. I'm actually excited to see him with an opportunity now. I thought his opportunity last year, his rookie year, was very limited for one reason or the other. Whatever the case may be, that's behind him now. It's all about this year. And, I know that there hasn't been a lot to say about him. I haven't come back to the show. I was like, man, Jack Bech showed out today. I thought he was solid. I thought he's been solid so far. It hasn't been anything overwhelming. It doesn't necessarily have to be overwhelming. It just needs to be consistent. What is he going to be consistent? And I feel like today was a day that is going to help him because the pads are on, and he's a physical guy. So for me, I want to see him get separation off the line of scrimmage. I want to see him use that physicality to his advantage. I want to see him get in there and block and do what he does. But, again, he's a second-round pick. There's high expectations for anyone who's picked in the second round. That's a guy that you immediately feel like is a starter. So, yeah, there's going to be some high expectations, but he has all the opportunity. That's for sure. The good thing about what this coaching staff has done so far, and I'm sure that it'll starting to tighten up a little bit as camp rolls on, but they're mixing guys in and out with multiple different other guys. You know what I mean? So they're allowing Jack Bech to run with the ones. He's putting them with the twos. Putting them with, it's just they're mixing them all up in the formation, in the group, just really getting them to be as versatile as possible and getting these guys as comfortable with each other as possible as well. So I think he's got just as good a chance as anybody. But, all eyes are going to be on him and Dante Thornton Jr. because they are wide receivers going into year 2 now, as opposed to what they were their rookie year. But Jack, yeah, he's definitely got a lot of, eyeballs on him. We're looking down for number 18 out there each and every day. And right now, the guy that's really, catching most of our attention is number 19, who's Malik Benson, too, and you brought out the comparisons, to who Clint Kubiak had there in Seattle. And so, we'll see. Like James Jones said today, there very well could be a guy in this camp right now, Q, that is going to end up being a baller that we don't know. We don't know. We can't identify all these guys as ballers before we get to see them go to work, but they're working right now. And I'm telling you, it is such a blessing to be out there. Like, I look at this schedule. I have it taped to one of my computer screens here in the studio, and I just look at, man, practice this. And it's so exciting to see these practices and see practice at Allegiant Stadium and all these games lined up and understand that, man, this is absolute go time. This is building the whole team time. and to know that we're behind the scenes and getting an opportunity to be a fly on the wall and check it out, what people would do to have this opportunity, and we're gifted this opportunity, and then get to come back on the radio and talk about it? Come on, man. Come on, right? Anyone who would pass up that opportunity is a fool. Like, I don't mean to throw shade at nobody, but, man, if you don't want that opportunity, you're a fool, right? You're just looking a gift horse in the face and laughing at it. That's wild. I love it. I love it. And there's a reason why there's so many people out there at practice. The media room is packed. And the cool thing is with the Tokyo Toe, there's Japanese media there as well, which is really cool. They did yesterday. They did a separate little media scrum. He went to the podium and talked about his opportunity, and he's got a great mindset, and he went off to San Diego in between mandatory minicamp and training camp. He went off to San Diego and was putting in work. Was with the guy, with a kicking coach and everything, and he's putting all the work in. I mean, he was telling us that he's been working, getting better, and getting tips and learning, and he's learning from Matt Gay as well. And I mean, he's a guy. If he doesn't make the 53-man roster, he's a guy that's definitely going to be on the international, the Gateway program. Like the Tokyo Toe is going to be with this team somehow, some way. There's no doubt about it. I mean, and I feel like he's just got too much upside, too much ceiling, right? I mean, it just seems like the sky's the limit for him, and his willingness to learn is awesome. But just to see all the media that's there every single day and see how everyone rolling in and just it's packed, man. I mean, there's a lot of excitement. Of course, the initial excitement is, well, Fernando Mendoza's there, the number 1 overall pick. But, man, this whole team, there's a lot to like about the way that they're building this thing. I mean, there really is. And I'm fired up about the coach, to be honest. I'm so fired up about Clint Kubiak. You want to talk about a dude who's cooler than the other side of the pillow, and I don't mean he's cool like he's trying to be cool. I'm just saying he's relaxed. He's relaxed, and he's going about his work and going about his business. And here his other coaches on staff, like Joey D. We got to talk to Joe DeCamillis yesterday. He said, hey, he's all business. He's all ball. But the one thing that stood out, and I talked about it kind of on the podcast today, not only is Clint Kubiak all ball and really focused and all business, but the players are still allowed to have fun. And so Joey D said that to us yesterday, when he said that caught my attention, because I can go back a handful of years when Josh McDaniels was the head coach. And I know somewhere Mike was like, no, don't mention that name. That's a name that we won't mention. But I remember when Ryan Clark went to practice, and I remember having RC on the show right after that day. And I said, hey, what did you think from, the guys that are out there, what you saw from training camp? And he said, Q, these guys aren't having fun. And I remember how long that resonated with Raider Nation. Anyone who's been listening to this show for a while now remembers that conversation. And he said they're not having fun. Yeah, they're putting in the work, but they're not having fun. And that was something that I kept, well, I wonder what that's going to look like, what that's going to mean later on. And then we all saw the results of it. So for Clint Kubiak to be all businesslike and to be all about football, but at the same time allowing these guys to still have fun with the game is important. And that's a dynamic and a trait that he has. We'll talk to Omar Ruiz from the NFL Network coming up in about 15 minutes or so. He talked to Clint Kubiak yesterday, so we'll ask him about that trait. Where he gets that trait from, is that he picked that up from his dad, being around ball his life. I don't know. I can't tell you where he got that trait from. But to be able to be businesslike, to be able to be all about ball, about getting the work in, putting the work in, but then at the same time, the players are still having fun with it, that's a skill set. Everyone can't do that. Got a text from Brent. He said, what has stood out to me is the fact that the offense seems to be getting better every day. In the past, all we heard is how good the defense was, but it turned out to be because the offense was terrible. The fact that the offense is won a day or two makes me excited because it meant that they have something cooking, but it also means they're testing the defense. Iron sharpens iron. Go Raiders. Yeah. I would say that I've seen the offense win a few days. I've seen the defense win a few days, and I've seen some days that have just been solid. There's been solid plays by both. And again, we're only talking about 5 practices. But we are talking about 5 practices, right? And today I would say that there was some good. With the offense, I would say there's some good from the defense. I thought that the defense, played some pretty good roles, especially, again, going back to the one-on-one drills. The DBs, the secondary, they really look good. There was a nice little screen pass to Ashton that went to the house, and I looked over, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Sam Gordon. I was like, a screen pass? What is a screen pass? Well, you never seen a screen pass. And so, I mean, that ain't breaking some kind of news like, oh my gosh, the Raiders have this crazy play. No, it's just that they don't run them very often. And so to see Ashton pick up a big chunk of yardage and would have taken it to the house, like that's a big deal because we just don't see those very often for one reason or the other. And just there's some stuff to like, right? And then there's some, like I said, some good defensive plays. I thought Darian Porter did well in practice today, which is encouraging. He's still learning how to play defensive back, and he did well. It's definitely a lot to be encouraged about. Thank you for that text. Definitely appreciate you. Let's see. We also got this one from Raider Mike in Colorado. It's our guy. He said, what's up, Q? It's great to hear that Mayer's having a solid camp. He seems like a perfect fit for the 2 tight end set and could have a sneaky great year if we lean into it. Saw he busted his nose today. He's all good. With everything being so new, we're a projected 5.5 win total team. I'm not too disappointed with anything at the moment coming out of camp. I understand where this team is, and all I ask is that we continue to improve and just be competitive on Sundays. Appreciate you, Raider. Appreciate you, fam. That's Raider Mike in Colorado. And, yeah, that was funny that Michael Mayer went down, took his helmet off real quick. As Clint Kubiak said, he busted his nose. He'll be all right. So it just, I laughed just the way that Clint Kubiak said it. And it's funny because the more that we're hearing from Clint and the more that we're around him, he's never going to be a guy that's mistaken for a comedian. He's never going to be a guy that's going to have all these catchy one-liners. But you're starting to hear and starting to see he's getting a little bit more comfortable behind the mic. He's getting a little bit more comfortable with us. He's getting a little bit more comfortable knowing his team, talking about his team, right? We don't have any turds in there. Like, when's the last time you thought you were going to hear the coach say that? Oh, yeah, Mike busted his nose. He'll be all right. Like, when did you think you would hear him say something like that? But he's, like I said, you could see him and hear him getting a lot more comfortable. So for anyone that was all concerned, Clint Kubiak, he's too quiet, he doesn't have personality, and I'm not saying anybody at Raider Nation. Actually, there was a bunch of people, to be truthful, there was a bunch of people when we were in San Francisco on Radio Row that were saying Clint Kubiak can't be a really good head coach because he doesn't have enough personality. That literally told us that I've been around him enough to know he can't lead men, he can't do this, that, and the other. And these are people that I respect. But I didn't respect that because I was like, how are you going to judge the dude? He hasn't had a chance to do it yet. But you're already telling us, and you ain't no coach, that he can't do something. And that's already proven to be false. So, but there was, I promise you, there was a handful of folks that we ran into. Obviously, it was a big conversation that we had there on Radio Row with different people about Clint Kubiak and who he is. And there was a handful of folks that were like, I don't think he can do it. He can't lead men. Okay, well, all right. Seemed like that was false. What did Maury say? This was proven to be false. You are not the father. 702-365-9200. Let's go out to San Carlos. Talk to our guy, Scott. Big Scott, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q. Well, you know what's on my mind. I heard you talking up my guy, Malik
Yes.
Benson.
Yep.
And I was like, I got to call. I was like, that's that. I've like I said, I've been trying to hold off calling every day on him, but so put it in the format of your question. That's obviously the thing I've been among the most excited about, obviously outside of Fernando and his potential, but since day one, since we drafted him, and I think he's becoming a little less sneaky, a little less of a dark horse, I think, now that you see him. And it was great to hear that he kept that up with pads. That didn't surprise me, but I was just happy to hear he kept that up when they got the pads on. And the only thing I'd say I'm a little disappointed in, and this may just be that it's not being covered, but I just haven't heard about anybody, Malcolm Kuntz or even Butler or anybody really taking a step on the D-line. And, it's like Kirk Morrison. I mean, you know what you're getting with Max, and I know Max draws a lot of the attention both in practice and in the media. But that's the only thing. I'm curious how the rest of that unit's progressing, and that's something I wish we'd hear a little bit more about. So that's the only thing I've been disappointed. And to your point, it's 5 days, so
yep.
First day in pads, all that stuff. So it could just be that, but yeah, man, I haven't ordered my Benson jersey yet, but I'm eyeballing it.
I heard that.
So,
hey, don't do it now. Don't do it yet. Wait till the 53-man roster is set because you never know, they might change their number.
And not only that, but I don't want to jinx anything. I'm superstitious enough to just I'm waiting. But anyway, man, I'm glad to hear you talking him up, and have a great rest of your day, man.
Will do. Scott, really good call. Appreciate it. Yeah, anyone who wants to get a jersey that's not Fernando Mendoza, I always say wait until the 53-man roster is set, only because, some guys get released, and that might be a number that this player is eyeing, and they want to go get that number, right? Like Hezekiah Masses, for example, is number 35 right now. Well, what if maybe he wanted to rock, 21, and that all of a sudden that opens up. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know. You never know what number and who's going to be available, and right now there is no 21. So, that's probably by design. And I don't blame them. And there's no 24, and I'm sure that's probably by design as well. But who knows? Maybe there's a certain number that opens up that, Masses wants or Benson wants or something like that. That's why I say just wait. Just wait. Don't get your jersey just yet. If you go get a Quay Walker number 7 jersey, that's safe. You can rock that number. He's good there. Nakobe Dean 17, that's good. Mendoza 15, that's good. But yeah, some of these, like I said, these rookies, just wait until the 53-man roster is set, and then they can decide if they're going to stick with that number that they have right now or move on. Let's see. We got this text from another one from Jimmy in Vancouver. Hey, Q, I also wanted to mention how concerned should we be about place kicking. I think Matt Gay is a downgrade from Daniel Carlson. What's your take on the Tokyo Toe? That's Jimmy in Vancouver. Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good competition. We actually got to talk to Matt Gay yesterday, and I actually could appreciate the conversation that we had, and he was open and honest. He was very transparent. He hasn't been the guy that he was a couple years ago when he was with the Rams. Now, the good thing is he was with Joey D when he was there with the Rams, and he was very successful. But he's had some down years, and he's trying to get his kick right. He's trying to get his placement back. He's trying to get back to being that guy. And, he said that he's simplified some things. He, instead of taking so much, so much into the process, he's made it a lot more simple, and he feels like he's in his words, not mine, hitting a good ball right now. So, that's positive. Now, the kick that we saw from him yesterday was 52 yards. It clanked off the upright. So, there's a battle there for sure. I mean, I said it that the Tokyo Toe is a guy that's going to be on the roster somehow, some way, in my opinion. He could easily win the battle. This is a true competition. Paul G had mentioned it when he joined the show, that this is probably a low-key battle that nobody's really talking about. That's definitely one that you should talk about, is that kicking battle. And, Daniel Carlson, for some reason, still doesn't have a team, a contract. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just happy with where his career is and what he did, if he's, looking for I don't know. I can't answer for him. I don't know. But I thought a lot of the problems that Daniel Carlson had last year was not Daniel Carlson problems. I thought the problems he had was process, snap. The hold's always going to be good because AJ is the guy. But, the process, that just the blocking, nothing really went very well in that unit, and that's why Tom McMahon got fired. So I thought that was more a them situation than a Daniel Carlson situation. But you see he doesn't have a team right now, so that's interesting. But that is a battle that you definitely want to pay attention to. Matt Gay versus Tokyo Toe, who we got to talk to both those guys on yesterday. We got Omar Ruiz coming up in a hot minute, but Ari's got some winning on the way, and he's got it right now. What you got?
I got a 4-pack of tickets to see the Aviators versus the Sacramento River Cats. That is August 15th at the Las Vegas Ballpark. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com or right now. Caller 9-702-365-9200 gets 4 tickets to the Aviators.
There it is right there. Omar Ruiz, he had an opportunity to catch up with Clint Kubiak, Max Crosby, and more. We'll hear what he had to say and what he took away from his day at the Raiders training camp on yesterday. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Man, Kirk's an older guy, and he tries to stay hip with the younger generation. So, he still has his dad moments, though his dad jokes out there. But, just having that kind of guy in the locker room, it means a lot because he's done so much in this league, and we could just build upon our team from him. Just going on what he says, he's done this plenty of times. He's a winning quarterback. So this thing that he says, we got to pay attention to what he's saying and really hone in on that type of stuff and just be a complete team.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Jalen Speedy Naylor right there talking about Kirk Cousins. That was a conversation that he had at the podium yesterday on Sunday when they had training camp practice number 4. Of course, they had number 5 today, first day that the pads went on. But you hear him talking about the presence and the veteran presence of Kirk Cousins. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Speedy Naylor was at practice yesterday. Omar Ruiz from the NFL Network, he was at practice yesterday alongside David Carr. And Omar, thanks so much for your time. You know, we always appreciate you when you join the show. How important is Kirk Cousins and that veteran presence for this Raiders team that there's a lot of new, including a brand new head coach?
Well, I think it's extremely important. I think, more so for the development of Fernando Mendoza. I think you want Kirk Cousins to play and to play well and allow Mendoza to develop at his own pace and without the pressure of having to be the savior. And the longer that Kirk Cousins can play and play well and give the team a chance to win consistently, then the more Fernando Mendoza will be ready when his number is eventually called. So I think it's vitally important, not only for Mendoza's development, but just for where the organization is in terms of a rebuild and getting back to relevance and consistently competitive, that Kirk Cousins plays well, especially here early on in the 26th season.
You and David Carr both sat down with Clint Kubiak yesterday, and we're actually going to play a little bit of that a little bit later on in the show. But kind of what was your big takeaway from what Clint Kubiak had to say, knowing that he's a first-time head coach, but seems like he's handling it all really smooth and calmly?
Well, just, I think he trusts his process, and I think, he's had to lean on that process given, the last few years as he's worked his way up the NFL ladder. He's bounced around and going from, Minnesota to San Francisco to New Orleans and Seattle and having, a lot of success, been part of teams at different stages of a rebuild or, instant contenders, so he's kind of seen it all. And so I think through it all, his process of kind of, building the offense through the run, accentuating the skill set of the skilled players, the level-headedness, the composure and the calm that he brings to everything that he does and the culture he's trying to instill, I think it's all there and on display when you see the Raiders out at training camp practice.
Omar Ruiz is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. Joe DeCamilla said about him yesterday at the podium, he said he's all about business, he's all about football, but he's also making it fun for the players. What kind of skill set is that, Omar? Because that's something that you don't always hear. It's fun, but it's not necessarily all about business, it's all about football. He's found a way to combine the two.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't heard, any specific anecdotes of anything, super fun, but, obviously you want to have the players engaged. Yeah. And if a coach like Joe DeCamillis, who has seen it all and been around with all the experience that he has, says the players are having fun, then that's certainly going to help when you're getting through the dog days of summer and it's 114 degrees for a high. And I think when we were on the field yesterday, even toward the end of practice, it was already in the triple digits. So if you get the players to buy in, you believe in the culture you're building, the system that you're installing and having fun in doing so, then, obviously that bodes well. And then once the regular season begins, the fun comes from winning. But you got to get there first. And obviously Clint in his first year doing a good job at that so far.
One of the things that he said to you guys was about, the quarterback that's on the field making the other 10 guys around him better. And that was, one of the things that he was looking for from Fernando and obviously Kirk Cousins as well. When you hear that breakdown from the head coach, what kind of goes through your mind when you heard that?
I think there's going to be a lot of intangibles that they're looking for with Fernando Mendoza. I think, the way Fernando is so diligent in his preparation, in his focus on fundamentals, the footwork we've heard him talk about, trying to get under center more and getting used to that. I think all of that he'll with time come to master, given his work ethic and his ability to lock in and those kind of things. But I think it is the intangible things, the qualities that when I hear Clint say something like that, it makes me think of. And the things that he noted was, he threw an interception in practice yesterday, and then the very next play comes back with a completion. And same thing when he took a sack, toward the end zone and then bounces back in a positive way. It's those intangible things that the players, first and foremost, draw confidence from when their quarterback, has a bad play, doesn't dwell on it, doesn't let it affect the huddle, doesn't let it affect the next play. Those are the things you want to see. Obviously, Q, he still has to work on all the fundamentals and everything else that we talked about that we all believe he'll get. But, it's those intangible qualities you want to pair with, the solid play on the field as well.
There's been a lot of conversation about the Raiders don't have a number one wide receiver, but they have a collective, and they obviously have Brock Bowers, who's really stinking good as a number one target. Can that type of approach, do you think that can work, or do you think that it's something that they are going to have to address that wide receiver position? If it's not now, then maybe even next year in the draft or free agency.
Yeah, I think you want to see what they have. You want to give those younger players a chance to develop and see if they can emerge as, stars or, somebody you can count on consistently throughout a season. But I think, when you got Ashton Genty and all the talent that you would expect him to have, given where he was drafted, and Brock Bowers already what he's shown, you would think that the creativity of the offense, the heavy reliance on the run game will open everything up in the pass game. And maybe you don't have to have, guys who can consistently win against double teams. If you have a guy that can win, in single coverage, or if you can find a way to scheme guys open because the defense is focusing on Bowers and the running game, then you can allow those guys to flourish a little bit. So, but I think I kind of agree with you in that sense, in that, I think the Raiders are building this the right way. And I think typically when I come out to camp every year, you kind of look for ways that this team, may be a playoff contender. And I don't really have those feelings about this Raiders team. I don't see a path for them to be in playoff contention. But what I do see is a team being built the right way with a belief that, it's maybe not going to be this year, but they're setting themselves up to be, big time contenders. That's in a sustainable way. And I think that's the difference in years past with the Raiders and with what I'm seeing right now and how John Spytek has, established his vision in year number 2 and how Clint Kubiak is getting things going in year number 1 for him.
Omar Ruiz from the NFL Network is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920 on Necessary Roughness. Now, you guys also sat down with Max Crosby, and I luckily was able to sit on the bleachers, and I kind of was a little fly on the wall and got to hear a little bit. And Max sounded like, and I would love to hear from you, it sounded like he was in a really good place and really excited about this team moving forward.
I would agree. A great place. I think we asked him like 5 questions, and he conducted a 10-minute interview. I mean, he was so he was so all over every question, and it's funny, we recorded it yesterday, but it didn't air on NFL Network until today during our inside training camp coverage. And so I'm back in Los Angeles. My parents happen to be in town, and they watched the interview when it aired on TV, and they had some of the same reaction that you had. He just seems like he's all in. He's bought it, and they're Raider fans, by the way. So they're heavily interested in seeing Max Crosby in a good place. But the fact that he was so open, he was so willing to expand on everything that happened to him this spring and what he's looking forward to in 2026 and everything else. I would agree. I think he's in a good spot. He's ready to shine through, and I think maybe something like this, and David Carr touched upon it in our interview, everything happens for a reason. And when you talk about a guy who was drafted in 2019 and had that enormous chip on his shoulder, and he rode that chip on his shoulder to being one of the best players in the NFL, but the Raiders haven't won much since he's been there. You wonder if that chip on your shoulder from being drafted in the 4th round in 2019 and being a nobody and becoming a superstar, you wonder how much motivation that can sustain for a career. But then you get something like this that happens, and maybe that resets. That chip on the shoulder is fresh. The motivation is even heightened, and perhaps we might see the best Max Crosby version of him yet in this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great thing for Raider Nation to see the best version of Max Crosby, because we know how good he could be. And like I said, just from his body language, the way that he was even answering questions with you and he's answering questions with us, he just seems like he's in a really good place, excited. Seems like he's fired about the additions that have been made to the team as well, including his former defensive line coach, Robbie Leonard, now being the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good energy there with the defense, and you talk about the consistency that he has with his defensive line coach now being the defensive coordinator, and you hear Rob Leonard talk about the defensive line meetings and all the energy and the enthusiasm that they would have. And now that's for the broader defense in general. Then you have all the Georgia connections and how they're reunited and how they're happy to be together. There's just so much good synergy, so much good energy with that defense. Now, obviously, they got to play well on the field when it counts, but you look at all those factors because I think we're all believers in Clint Kubiak, especially the way he lit it up last year with the Seahawks and winning the Super Bowl. I think whether it's Kirk Cousins or whether it's Fernando Mendoza that emerges, I think they're going to be a capable offense. But if this defense, can make some noise, then you got a chance to surprise a lot of people in this upcoming season.
The funny thing is, and we'll close out with this, I mentioned the offense being, a lot better than what we've seen in the past few years. And if they are better, right, and they only averaged 14 points per game last year. So if they're in the 20, 21, 22, whatever range per game, and, that's, again, hoping that they are in that area, how much better will that make the defense when you know that they're, sustaining drives? They're on the field, less. They're able to get stay fresh and a healthy Max at the end of the game, having a chance to close things out. To me, it makes me feel like that defense really has a chance to be better if the offense is better.
Yeah, it's just a complementary football. And I think, that every team that's good in the NFL in some measure, plays complementary football. And the way the defense can close out games, helps the offense and vice versa. And it made me think of Myles Garrett, going to the Rams. Mm-hmm. And, you see a guy who has dominated, obviously, two-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner, set the sacks record last year. And now he's going to play on a team where they're going to have a lot of leads. And now for the first time in his career, Myles Garrett's going to be able to tee off in the fourth quarter, going after quarterbacks in passing situations. And I just think, if Max Crosby can have the same sort of, if the offense can put some points up on the board, if the Raiders have leads in the fourth quarter, and now Max can go attack, and the relentlessness of that entire defense can be on display, and they're not just playing catch up, they're not just trying to get off the field, but they can be in attack mode and have their own sort of 4-minute defense, if you will. Then I think that's another avenue to improve quickly when you're talking about the upcoming season here.
Absolutely. Omar Ruiz, NFL Network. Fantastic stuff as always. It was great to see you and David out at practice yesterday. What else you got cooking, man? What else are you working on that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, our inside training camp coverage continues. Actually kicked off today because the past weekend was back together weekend. So our official inside training camp coverage is now and through August 12th, next Wednesday. And I'll be at Giants camp from the Greenbrier in West Virginia, and then more stuff with the Niners and the Denver Broncos. So it is a lot of action-packed football all the time, and happy to do it on NFL Network.
Yes, we made it. I'm giving a round of applause because we made it. Football is back. As you know, this is a great time of year, and it's only going to get better. Well, like I said, it was great seeing you as always, man. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you.
All right, Q. Yeah, I always look forward to talking with you, man. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. You the same. Omar Ruiz, NFL Network. Fantastic stuff. And anytime I see him out there at practice, I'm like, all right, it's a good day, right? It's always really good. Been rocking with Omar for a very long time. Matter of fact, I want to say, Ari, he was the first guest that we had on this fine show we call Unnecessary Roughness.
I have heard that before, so I can confirm. I wasn't here yet, but I know that that's a fact because I've heard you say it before. So.
There you go. He was our first guest, one of many, but, man, we've had some really good quality guests, and Omar is right there at the very top with them as well. So we definitely appreciate him and his time. And, again, you'll hear a little bit of the conversation that him and David Carr had with Clint Kubiak. We'll do that around 4:30 as we do Football Right. But as we close out hour number 2, we'll hear from you, 702-365-9200. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
The thing that you look at with Max is just aggression. You know what I mean? He sets the tempo in terms of aggression. He's going to let you know about it. And that entire feeling kind of pervades the defensive line. So, having him back out there after him not being there for OTAs has been amazing, whether it's him leading in drills or, in a team period, him blowing a run up. He's just letting you know, there's no reason why we shouldn't dominate every play. And that's been the case. So we appreciate having him out there and him setting the standard still.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
T-Book, Thomas Booker right there talking about Max Crosby setting the tone with his aggressiveness. And he wrecks practices. He always does that. He wants to be out there all the time. He should be out there, getting his reps in, as Kirk Morrison brought up earlier in the show. I don't really need to see a lot of Max. I want to see a lot of the other guys, but he is out there setting the tone, being that guy, especially since he wasn't out there for OTAs and mandatory minicamp. He was out there, but he wasn't out there like he is right now. So he's in a good place being out there and practicing and doing what Max Crosby normally does and interacting with the fans when the fans are there, like today. And, it's great to see 98 out there doing what he does. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. My one-on-one conversation with Caleb Rogers is coming up at the top of the hour, but right now it's your time to shine. We do want to hear from you. 702-365-9200. Got a lot of texts responding to the question I threw out there today. What has stood out and excited you the most so far from what you've heard, what you've seen, what you've read about camp, and what has frustrated you or disappointed you the most so far? We do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We got this text from our guy, Jersey Dave. Jersey Dave always needs the word of the day. He's trying to win the Summer of Fun. This week it's it's Yellowstone or Grand Canyon National Park. And the word of the day is what, Ari? You got
refresh.
The word of the day?
Refresh.
There it is.
R-E-S-H.
There you go. Like some people do that when they're trying to get more information. They're on the computer hitting refresh, refresh, right? You want some more information. We do that all the time. Well, how about refresh your body, your mind, your soul? Summer Fun, we can do that for you. All you got to do is text refresh to 702-365-9200. You have till 5 o'clock to get in to win that. If you win the trip, you can take the trip or the cash, and the cash is $3,000. So we definitely appreciate that. Appreciate that text. And what else? We got another text here. This one's from Miguel. The biggest disappointment for me so far is not hearing anything positive about Jack Besh. Despite the expectations surrounding his draft in the second round, they ended up trading down and selecting him. They should have stayed put and drafted instead of trading down at that point. That's from Miguel. And, that's fair. It's early in the process. Jack Besh hasn't done anything to separate right now and get us to wow about him. Like Malik Benson has been the guy that we've really talked about a lot, and obviously Brock Bowers as well. So, at some point, you would hope that Jack Besh would, really kind of start to pop. He's been consistent. He just hasn't consistently done anything that's just been wow, right? It's just he's been consistent. He's been solid. Let's put it like this. It's funny because I'll talk to Tonka Hemingway tomorrow, at least I'm scheduled to. And, I was asked, well, who do you want to talk to? And Jack was one of them. I put him, I put a request in to talk to him because I did want to have a conversation with him, but he's going to come to the podium sometime this week. So I just said, all right, well, I'll get him, one-on-one later if he's going to do some podium work. So we will hear from Jack Besh. We'll be able to ask him a few questions about camp and how big it is for him and, kind of his expectations as well. 702-365-9200. Let's go out to the phone lines real quick, and let's talk to our guy, the Money Man. Let's go talk to the Money Man real quick. Money Mitch, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Too hard. I don't know how you guys deal with the heat.
We're good, man. We're good.
Hey, the
We're
Dodgers.
good.
We caught the big fish. His name's not Moby. His name is Tariq School, and hopefully they can sign him long term.
Well, they got 3 months. They got 3 months with them. They're going to try to win a third championship in a row. So we'll see what happens.
They're going to win without him. We can win without him, right? Or they? Excuse me.
There you go.
I'm hearing some good things about our running backs, especially Dylan. He can help in special teams. That's 4, and I think they got 3 running backs from college. I recognize one name, Robinson, but they're
Those were just workout guys. Those were just workout and tryout guys. They didn't sign those guys yet.
Oh, okay. I misread it. And I see Tonka and JJ are like second, third team. I'm hoping they can rise up the chart. Same thing with Besh, because if Besh doesn't work out, second round, it's disappointing. It's a bit of a bust if it doesn't pan out. Dude, thanks for taking my call. I know you're a busy guy.
Hey, appreciate your money, Mitch. Yeah, the Raiders over the weekend, they did try out 3 guys when it came to the running back position. Kenny McIntosh, running back out of Georgia. Dare O, I just call him O because I'm going to mess up his last name, the running back out of Wisconsin. And James Robinson, the running back out of Illinois State. They didn't sign them. They just worked them out. So, if those are guys that they end up bringing into the organization, then that's another conversation. But right now, they're going to work guys out. They're going to, have a short list of just in case someone gets banged up or they need, an extra position, whatever the case may be. Remember over the weekend as well, they waived Chris Collier, the running back, and they did sign a tight end to the roster. So that's just how training camp goes. That's what it's all about, and that you're going to continue to see some more minor moves like that along the way. We hear from you next. We kick off hour number 3 of the show here. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
First day of pads, we about to get active with it. Hey, shout out to RaiderNation, everybody out here supporting us and everything else. Let's get to it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I think it went pretty well. I mean, you never know till you really watch the tape, but the intensity was there. I think we were flying around, as a team and everything. So, we'll go back and look at it, but it felt pretty good.
I think we just have a professional group of players. They care about getting better. We don't have any turds. We got guys that want to be here, that want to win, that want to change this place. And so I'm really happy with that.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
And here we go, kicking off hour number 3 of the show. RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. Going to hear from Caleb Rogers, second-year offensive lineman. I had a chance to catch up with him. Little one-on-one action following practice. We'll also hear a little bit of Omar Ruiz and David Carr's conversation that they had with Clint Kubiak on yesterday. And, of course, we'll hear from you as well, 702-365-9200. Matter of fact, we'll start out with you. We'll go out to Sacktown, to the 916, talk to our guy, Raider Greg. Raider Greg, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Q, my brother, thank you for taking my call. How you doing, man?
Good, man. All's good. How are you?
Doing real good. It's hotter than most days, but it's a good day. For me, Q, getting straight to the question, there was nothing that disappointed me or that I thought, the team has failed on so far. What coming from free agency to the draft to OTAs, there's just been more things for me that have stood out. One thing is the health of the team. I think that's something that stood out as a huge key for me that I really liked, because I try to look back the last couple of years. I mean, whether it was Tyree Wilson was coming in, fresh off an injury, and he wasn't going to be able to be there right away. It was kind of day-to-day. And JPJ, same thing with the concussions, right? With this year coming in, and I really want to salute and take my hat off to Alex Guerrero on the team. I mean, you keep hearing Clint, you keep hearing everybody mention about the health program that they have everybody on to get them there. I mean, I can't remember the last time that everybody's got to training camp where we have every participant, everybody that's on the team there. So that's the first thing that stood out to me. The second thing that stood out to me was the conviction of the top down to the plan. The last couple times, whether it's been AP, Pete Carroll, Josh McDaniels, I mean, you've heard one thing, and then you've seen them do other things, and that's for many different reasons. Not with the experience. Josh McDaniels has failed as the head coach everywhere. Pete Carroll kind of, coming off of that kind of firing and wanting to prove that his way still works. So many different reasons, but with the conviction of them saying, look, everybody's got to compete. Everybody's starting out the same spot. We're not crowning anybody, especially in the Fernando Mendoza case. It's like, look, everybody's got to earn it. And you see the reporters and the media constantly trying to push that narrative like, hey, what do you see from Fernando Mendoza? Hey, when's Fernando getting in there? And Clint's like, hey, he's got a lot to learn. And even the messaging down to Fernando Mendoza himself saying, hey, look, I got this to work on. The honesty that this coaching staff and the players have, where they're being honest to where they're at and honest to where they've got to build to. I just love that, seeing that from Clint Kubiak. Because, we did hear a lot of people saying we don't know if Clint's going to be able to do it as a head coach because of his temperament. But the guy has just been solid and honest in what he expects out of the team, honest on where they're at, and honest on we're going to stick to our plan no matter what. And the last thing, too, so I'll get off so somebody else can get on, but the third thing that I've seen, I have seen the teammates having fun. I mean, even in the interviews today where you had, what's our guy, the cornerback from Alabama, I can't think of his name, it's eluding me, but he came in and asked a question to Jeremy Chin today.
Yeah, you're talking about Eric Stokes, from Georgia.
Eric Stokes, yeah. Even even the banter that they've had, that going back and forth, and the banter you've seen when Thomas Booker was doing the interview, Max was right there, and they're kind of playing around. You see the guys having fun because there's structure again, and right to go along with that, I see Jeremy Chin even said, yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing, but we're much better this year than we were last year.
That
right?
stood out. That was big. That was big.
Huge for me.
Yeah.
That was huge for me, Q, because to have a guy who, and to me, Q, we haven't really talked about sleepers that much, but Jeremy Chin, to me, I think is primed to have an amazing season this year. Always been a guy that's been a high-touted guy, has all the gifts, the mentality, but hearing him being honest and being vulnerable and saying, look, it's embarrassing, but we were bad last year. Like, what we're putting on the field right now is much better. Those are things that stood out to me, Q, so super positive. I don't see anything that's kind of disappointed me, and just looking forward to more coverage and the team getting better every week. God bless you, and God bless RaiderNation.
Hey, great call. Great point on Jeremy Chin saying that, because I mean, that stood out to me as well when he said it. It was embarrassing to see how bad they were last year, and they are so much better this year. Just going back and looking at the film, that was a good catch, Raider Greg. Really good catch. Shame on me that it took 3 hours before we got into that point. That was a hell of a point that he brought up, and he mentioned, in his post practice little presser there at the podium. That made me, when I heard it, a lot of times that somebody will say something either at the podium or a reporter will ask a question or say something, and it'll catch my attention one way or the other, and I'll look around. And a lot of people will look at me because I'll look around at them or whatever, and that one made me look around the room as well. Like, whoa, that was a hell of a statement. So really good call, Raider Greg. Thanks so much for that. Do appreciate you. From one Raider to another, from Raider Greg to Raider Mike. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind, my man?
A lot of things, Q. What's up, bro? How you doing,
Chilling, man. You doing all right?
Ari?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Good
sir.
to go. Good to go. Equipment breakdown, so I got to go see the new Spider-Man movie. It was outstanding.
Nice.
The Odyssey was better. You don't like movies. I don't even know why I'm telling you that, Q.
I don't either. I don't either. Not a movie guy.
Telling Ari that. And the rest of the nation, of course. The Dodger thing was Scooble, whatever his name is. It's just disgusting. It's so out of control. They're the Yankees of now. They're the new evil empire. And we won 3 straight World Series, and then free agency happened, and the Yankees started winning with Catfish, Reggie. They didn't win with Ricky, which was weird. Sent him back, and he got his ring. But you know my point. Canseco, etc. It's just hopefully when the Vegas A's are made and that stadium is built, we get rid of that owner. I can't stand him. He's horrifying. Probably the cheapest owner in the history of sports, one of them anyway. But when we can keep our players, we'll be able to compete again. But it's been a rough sledding for a long time, Q. Watching an A's game is just, it's fruitless, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
As far as my Raiders, I have no complaints. And you've had me on your show for 6 years. I complained a lot. In fact, I screamed a lot about things for a long time. I love everything we're doing. I love our new coach, Kubiak. That dude is he's cool as a cucumber. He's just cool daddy hombre. I'm here to do this job. I'm going to turn this team around, and all signs point to yes. They are turning this team around. I mean, and then Fernando, every time he steps up to the mic, he's only 22, but all his answers are so thought out and so processed and so spot on that you want from that young quarterback. I'm just, my heart is filled with joy. I can't wait till the first week of September when we play. I'm pumped. We've sucked for 25 years, Q. Just been horrifying. And I can finally say we're on our way. It all looks good. We have the Death Star built. We've got spy tech. The dude's a badass. I can tell he can draft. This is one. I'm going to say this is probably going to be 3-4 years from now, the best Raider draft in the history of the Raiders. I'll go out on a limb and say that. So I'm just happy, Q.
Yeah.
Besh, come on out. Do your thing. because that would be a bad pick by Svitek if he doesn't provide what I think he can provide. I mean, I think the dude can ball, and we just need to figure out how to use him and his skill set. I'm worried about Thornton, though. It sounds like he might be Ricky Dudley.
Oh,
yeah, dropping ball. That's what I'm hearing.
I can see that. I can see a little bit of that.
Okay, but he's a fifth-round pick. It's not that big a deal. And this kid, my fellow Duck, play the music from Benson, the '80s show, from Malik. That was a great show, by the way. But you're not a TV guy either. No. You just don't like that kind of entertainment. Sorry about that, Q. You're missing a lot of stuff.
It's all right.
Anyway, so I'm happy, bro. I'm just happy. And the best thing is normally we have been a circus every year. I mean, they started the circus early with Baltimore and Max putting a 1,000-pound chip on his shoulder. Well done, Baltimore. Look what you're about to unleash. Unleash hell. That's what Max is going to be on this league this year. I'm going to go on a limb, defensive player of the year. That's how crazy he's going to play, and he's got the dudes around him to deliver that kind of season. And hopefully Aaron Donald comes back so Miles doesn't get as many sacks, and Max can get that award. Anyway, I love the show, Q. I miss you, bro. Later, Ari. Raiders, I'm out, bro. Peace.
There he goes. Raider Greg to Raider Mike to Raider Mac. Let's keep the Raiders rolling. Raider Mac, welcome to the show. What you got?
What's up, Q? What's up, fellas, man? This is a great time of the season, man, and I agree with that Jeremy Chin take, man. That wasn't embarrassing last year, but hey, it's a new season. Let's move on. And Q, real quick, I think Mike Washington having a nice camp. I know the kid can play, man. I watched him Arkansas, and that kid can play. It's not going to be a let off when he comes into the game, and he just got to get the protection because most young running backs have to learn how to protect. My disappointment is all these YouTubers talking about one practice that this kid Mendoza, our quarterback, had a bad practice. Everybody has a bad practice in the NFL, including Max Crosby too. So for all these YouTubers, this is what I'm disappointed. All you heard report, he had a bad everything. He had a bad thing. YouTube. I'm like, are you kidding me? So Q, that's the only thing I'm disappointed. Just keep going. And I think the biggest thing for us is the offensive line. We cannot forget the trenches. Do not. The trenches is the most important, and I like what we're doing and what, we got different pieces. But at the end of the day, we just got to put out that starting five and let them get together because that's how you get unity on the O-line. And that's my only thing is the O-line. And I'm surprised. I'm the first one to apologize to Kirk Cousins because I'm telling you, I don't think he should. He's the starter, but I mean, I guess he's killing it right now. But we don't have no pads on, so we'll see what happens. But Q, I just want to say that, man, just keep going the way we going, and that's it, man. And I appreciate you guys, man. See y'all opening day.
There he goes, Raider Mac. Good call, man. We had all the Raiders: Raider Greg, Raider Mike, Raider Mac. And, today was the first day of pads, so they did have the pads on today. Kirk Cousins has looked good, in my opinion. Fernando, he might have been off on Sunday. That's expected to happen. But, again, a lot of the people that you're talking about that are talking about that, the YouTube guys, they're not actually there. So they'll take a tweet or they'll take an article that was written and kind of run with it. And so that's the unfortunate part. Anyone who overreacts to anything that they see right now or here at camp, it's exactly that, an overreaction. This is when they have the opportunity to make mistakes. This is when you want them to make mistakes. I'd rather Fernando Mendoza throw a pick six to Greedy Vance right now. I don't want him to throw a pick six when he gets into the game, right? It's all about, building the confidence. He's still learning. You can see at times he's still thinking. He's still thinking about his footsteps when he's under center. It's a lot to this, and that's why the Raiders having the option and the ability to put a veteran in there that doesn't have to think and could just go play. That's why that's a great thing. And I know that doesn't fit anyone's narrative who wants to see Fernando day one, but that's the reason why they have that veteran in there. So they're not forced to, well, we just have to play this guy because we don't have any other options. And, oh, by the way, he's the number 1 overall pick. That's fine. But he doesn't necessarily mean that you have to rush him out there day one. Allow him to take a few lumps in practice, figure things out in practice, get comfortable with the scheme, get comfortable with his footwork, get comfortable with his teammates in practice before he goes out there and it all matters. So a really good call, Raider Mac, and I love how you talked about the trenches, which is a great segue for where we're going to go. Caleb Rogers, I had an opportunity to catch up with him after practice today, and he's a guy that I've always enjoyed talking with in the locker room post games. And remember, he didn't get into action until later in the season last year, but what we saw from him was pretty positive. Obviously, there's a competition going along that offensive line at the guard spots in particular, but he's not worried about he's worried about we. Here's that conversation, myself and Caleb Rogers from earlier in practice.
Here with Raiders offensive lineman Caleb Rogers. And Caleb, today was the first day that the pads went on. This is when the offensive line can show themselves. What did you feel about today?
It felt great being out there all together. I really think that we've all just embodied what Clint has asked us to do, and just having that team first approach, coming out with shock and effort and the relentless will to win. And I think everyone approached that just by the way they came in the building and by the way they took the field, by the way we finished practice. And so it was awesome just being out there again with everybody.
One of the things we've heard consistently from multiple players is the buy-in, and that 100% are all swimming in the same direction and all that. How does that feel to know that everyone, top to bottom, is all bought in?
It feels incredible. It's just the feeling of unity. Honestly, it's just a simple answer. It just feels good. It's nice to have that and to be a part of it. And it's a choice to buy in or there's nothing else. That there is no I get to do this because I don't want to. But no, it's either you're all in or you're all out. So
last year you told us that you had a lot of room that you had to continue to grow, and you felt good about it towards the end of the season. How are you feeling right now going into year 2?
I'm feeling great. But, I really think it's just about us as a group, and I think that as a group that we've elevated. And as a group, we all continue to elevate each other, JPJ, Spence, the tackles, we all buy into each other, we all help each other grow, and it doesn't matter who's starting or who's not. We all have the mentality of pushing each other, working together, elevating each other's play. And so, again, like the unity piece, like I might feel good or he might, but that doesn't matter. And it's about the way that we all look at each other and rise, bring each other up.
What have you thought about Rick Dennison so far?
I love him. I love all the coaches that we have in the room, the way that they pair together, and the way that they approach us with a professional mindset, but then not just, letting it end right there. Right. And so that, again, just enforces the unity, and us being together as a group, and it not just being about which coach to listen to or which player to watch, but like we all hold the same standard. We all rise to that same standard, and so it's incredible.
It seems like he's a very hands-on type guy. Like he gets in there, mixes it up, and is a lot of not only coaching but also teaching.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean this is we have a lot of teaching. We're a very technical based group, and again, the standard is a very, very firm line and very understood line. So we're all able to know whether that's it or that's not it, and hold each other to that standard. What it takes to be a good teammate, what it takes to be a good leader. Right. That's a standard that we have set for each other, and that we all expect each other to hold each other to that standard. So it's great the way that they've just given us definitions. Definitions are extremely important, and it allows us to have a standard and know where that standard and that line is.
What have you seen so far from the quarterback room? Obviously, Kirk Cousins is a veteran, but he's new to the team, and then obviously Fernando as well.
I don't see too much of them. They're behind me, So, I kind of
as long as you keep them upright, right?
yeah. We're more just focused on how it's going in our room, and maybe who's telling us to play call, but otherwise, that's their job to figure out, and our job is to protect them. So,
how exciting could this offense be? I know it's early stages, still doing all the installs and still learning it, but just kind of what you know about it. How exciting can this offense be?
I don't want to.
Don't tell me the sauce. So don't give me the secret sauce.
No, never. But at the same time, I don't want to just start, throwing things out there about what we could be or what we want to be. We just want to be our best. And so that's our plan every single day, and that's how we're going to show up every single day and continue to rise our standard day by day. And I mean, there's nothing else to it. When we're at our best, the point is to get better the next day.
Right.
You know, so every single day our best can be better. So always improving.
Nice. Well, I got to ask you, you know, the first game is not till the 13th, right? I'm sure you're at some point going to get tired of going up against your own guys. How excited will that be when you do have an opportunity to go up against another team?
Absolutely. You know, it's just another chance to continue to step up a notch and another chance to hold each other accountable to everything that we believe in and accountable to all the standards that we have, you know, reinforced. Right now we kind of, you know, we're not putting each other on the ground. You know,
right.
we're not touching the quarterback. And when that day comes, you know,
How difficult is that? I mean, you guys are football players, and you know, try to make sure you don't go to the ground and protect yourselves. I mean,
it's just a part of being a professional. Yeah. You have to be able to handle. You have to be able to do it. And so, but on a day like that, the 13th, you know, it's just another and our first opportunity to hold each other to the highest of standard that we have and to show what our best is. And that'll set the standard. And the next week, it's time to take a step forward, right. And our best to rise even more. So,
appreciate it.
There goes Caleb Rogers, second-year offensive lineman out of Texas Tech. And I'll tell you what, man, this dude, you want to talk about a guy that's focused, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times he talked about we. I can't tell you how many times he talked about the standard. I can't tell you how many times he talked about getting each other better and raising our level of play each and every day. And that's the kind of mentality that they're looking for. That's the kind of mentality and the kind of culture that Clint Kubiak is trying to create. And we'll hear a little bit from Clint Kubiak as he sat down with Omar Ruiz and David Carr yesterday from the NFL Network. So you'll hear that in less than 10 minutes or so. But, you know, Caleb Rogers could have been all about himself when I talked to him. You know, this guy's in a competition. This guy wants to be a starter. You think he don't want to play? This guy was a third-round pick. You think he don't want to be a starter? But he's not making it about him, which I can appreciate. I also could appreciate that even when I asked him about the quarterbacks, he's like, you know what? They'll figure that out. It's about us getting our room right. What a great answer. What a great answer from that dude. I mean, and it's funny because Brandy Flores was filming it as well. Matter of fact, it's on our RaiderNation Radio 920 YouTube page right now. If you want to check it out, just check out the video. And when we walked away, she said one of the things that stood out was when he said, well, I was asking about Rick Dennison and how it's not like what coach are you supposed to listen to? They're all on the same page. So she said, wow, that the coaches weren't even giving the same message last year. You know, he didn't say that. That wasn't the words he used, but that was the perception, right? When you say, you know, it's not a question of what coach to listen to, you understand that all these coaches for sure, right, regardless of what happened last year, all these coaches are on the same page. They're all preaching the same message. And that stood out to her. That stood out to me as well. You know, and so, again, it's been the overall theme. You know, Kirk Morrison broke it down well that, hey, when you have a new staff, you have to buy in. If you don't buy in, you'll be out. But there's still something to be said. As far as I'm concerned, there's still something to be said about these guys really feeling like this is a team-first approach. So I can get behind what these guys are saying and the way that they're saying it, and you know the fact that they're pushing each other, but they're also growing together. They're also growing and learning together. It just it stands out to me, and it goes back to the conversation that we've had when it's, you know, is this different than what we've seen, you know, from one year to the next? You know, AJ Cole brought it up yesterday when he met with us, right? Is this different? You know, and he threw it out there, not trying to, you know, disparage anyone that was here before, but there is a feel that this is different than what we've done. And this is different of what we're trying to put together. Ultimately, none of this matters when they get into the season and the games and everything is real, right? I mean, this is all great, but none of it is guaranteeing a win. The wins will come when they get out there on the field and they go win games, and they start having a culture of winning and create the habit of winning. Winning is habitual, right? You start winning, you learn how to be a winner. You learn how to close games out. You get in the rut of losing, then all of a sudden you just get in that rut where that's what you are. Your team ends up being a loser. You know, I say that about Bradley Beal when he was in Washington for all those years as a hooper. I thought Bradley Beal was a hell of a player, but he spent so many years in Washington losing, and I say this with all due respect, but he became like a loser, right? Because it was a losing organization where there wasn't really any hope. And again, that was not a shot at him. It's just when you get around that kind of mentality and there has no direction, you just become like a ultimate loser, even though you could be the most talented dude in the world, and he was a hell of a talent. And then when he started getting traded to other places, I never thought he was going to help because I just didn't think that he had that winning traits in him anymore. Right? He just didn't have that, and sometimes getting to a new organization could help, but it also is kind of what you do on the regular. And so the Raiders want to make sure that they don't have that situation. That's why they bring in Quay Walker. That's why they bring in Nakobe Dean. That's why they bring in Tyler Linderbaum. That's why they go and get a national champion and a Heisman Trophy winner as the quarterback. Because these guys have done winning. These guys have won games, right? Jalen Naylor had success in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins had success in Minnesota. Again, you got to bring guys in that are used to getting W's, not taking L's, and that helps with creating that culture that they're trying to reinforce. You know, Traden Stukes and Dalton Johnson, they had a lot of success in that secondary and that defense at Arizona. They brought those guys in together, right? Communication and again having success. Some people, when that's all you've really done is win, it's that's what you strive for. Hey, I got to keep up this excellence. It's like when Josh Jacobs was a rookie and he lost his first game, and he was from Alabama. He didn't lose too many games in college, right? He said he was so angry in the locker room, and y'all are okay with this? Y'all are okay with losing? Because he's just not used to that. Now, obviously, losing in the SEC at Alabama, you're not going to lose very many games. Right, it's not the NFL. The NFL is hard to win, but I understood where he was coming from because that wasn't his MO. Hey man, we're winners. We're supposed to win. We're not supposed to be taking no L's. I could appreciate that. I could appreciate the guy in the locker room that's like, this is not okay. We're not going to stand for this. And now there's more than just one guy here, one guy there that's striving to be a winner at all times. Now there's a bunch of guys that want to be winners. So I thought that was some really good stuff from Caleb Rogers, and kind of just let you know what the mindset is of the players inside that locker room. Like I said, I'm expecting to talk with Tonka Hemingway tomorrow, second-year guy that, by the way, was running with the first team on defense, right? Him and Adam Butler were kind of going back and forth. But, you want to talk about guys that are making strides and headed in the right direction. Tonka Hemingway's definitely trending and headed in the right direction. We hear from you, and we do football right. We'll do that next. 702-365-9200. What has stood out to you and excited you the most so far about what you heard, read, or seen about camp? And what has frustrated you or disappointed you the most so far? Again, let us know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
It comes down to, if I had a game tomorrow, who's going to be the best opportunity for us to win a football game? And I think that's the day-to-day approach. And right now, you're looking at some of the lineups out there at training camp. But when it comes to quarterback, Kirk Cousins right now is ahead of Fernando Mendoza, and rightfully so. This is all for the best for Fernando. And I think as training camp goes along, we may see this gap or window sort of tighten just a little bit. But right now, I'm just not surprised that Kirk Cousins is leading the number one unit for the Raiders out there on the field.
Right now, we're doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
Kirk Morrison right there talking to Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Cousins. That was upon further review. He sat down with Paul Gutierrez, and really good stuff as always from those guys. But, yeah, there is no surprise. I'm not surprised that Kirk Cousins is ahead right now of Fernando Mendoza. I expect him to be ahead of Fernando Mendoza when training camp's over. When preseason's over, when the regular season starts, I expect to see 8 behind center to start the season off. How long will he last? Who knows? But I do expect him to be there and allow Fernando Mendoza to grow at his own pace and learn at his own pace and be ready to take over, because once he takes over, it's going to be his job the rest of the way. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. And matter of fact, that was part of the conversation that was had with Omar Ruiz and David Carr as they were out at practice yesterday, and Max Crosby sat down with them, and that aired on Inside Training Camp early this morning on NFL Network. And also they sat down with head coach Coach Kubiak, and Omar started out the conversation talking about Fernando Mendoza and where he is with the development. Here it is. Check it out.
How's his development going? What sort of progress are you seeing from Fernando?
I've been really pleased with him. Just a really solid work ethic. A good young man that's got the right head on his shoulders, and it's a game that has a lot of adversity, so people that have a level head and can just come back the next day, tend to have success. So he's early in the process. He's getting a lot thrown at him, but I would say his work ethic has been impressive.
Yeah, what are the things that you're looking at? I mean, as far as we see the physical abilities, I know that I was telling Omar when I stepped on the field in training camp early my first year, I could outthrow the old guys. Like Ken Graham was out there, Tony Banks was out there, and it was easy for the coaching staff to say, well, Dave probably gives us the best chance, but mentally I wasn't necessarily prepared. I didn't feel like I had the experience, but you're thrust into that role. What are you guys looking for with Fernando to kind of tell you that he's ready to go?
Well, I think the number one thing is, when he gets in the game, does the other 10 guys elevate their level of play?
That's good.
Whether it's completing the ball, whether it's taking a smart sack, whether it's throwing a pick and then the next down, come back throwing a completion like he did today at practice. But we want the quarterback that elevates the other 10 around him.
Speaking of the other 10 guys on the field, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, how do you think your system will best complement and elevate their playing styles on the field this season?
Yeah, really impressive tight end group. We got to utilize our best players to go move the football, and I'm really pleased with how those guys are playing, both in the run and pass game. But we got to identify some playmakers on the outside too, so that'll be a big part of our training camp.
Yeah, you mentioned it. We were kind of talking about what this offense might look like, and I have intimate knowledge of your ability to put guys in position to get open. And I know that you've had a bunch of different guys. You've had Rashid Shaheed, you've had JSN, you've had different types of bodies, Cooper Kupp. So when you look at this group, and not to give anything away, but Brock Bowers is all over the place, as he should be. Do you see, is that the biggest component, kind of what you alluded to, the guys on the outside being able to vertically stretch the field and kind of create space for Brock? Or do you pinpoint one guy and say, well, this is the guy, we got to just ride with him no matter what? Or are you trying to find just some other components to that offense as you go forward?
Yeah, I think, the season's so long, if you count on one guy, you're in big trouble because you're one play away. So you're developing who you feel your playmakers are going to be, but you're also trying to identify who the next man up is. We have a lot of young players. We have some second-year receivers, some rookie wideouts that are all getting a lot of really important reps here. So that competition's wide open.
What excites you the most when you come to the facility in the morning?
Yeah, it's just seeing players get better. Especially the young players, when you can see their careers improve and they take something you gave them in the meeting and apply it to the field. That's what's fun about coaching.
Go on.
Yeah,
that's great.
Clint Kubiak right there. That was yesterday, sitting down with Omar Ruiz and David Carr, both from the NFL Network, as they were out there at training camp. And that's something that Coach Kubiak has talked about quite a bit, is helping players get better, right? One of the main reasons why he wanted to be a coach was to help players get better, which is a great reason to do it, right? I mean, it's not necessarily for the individual accolades of being a great coach or being in football. Is to help guys get better, and that's what this team is all about, trying to continue to get better, and that's what they need. Nate hit us up on the text line, said, I like the direction the team is trending, but I don't know how anyone could say they love the coach when he hasn't coached one game yet. Thanks for the text, Nate. I do appreciate that. That all kind of ties in as we're doing football right here on Unnecessary Roughness of RaiderNation Radio 920. I don't know if it's necessarily you love the coach, but I think you can love the approach that he has. I think you can love the mentality that he has. I think you can love the way that he's going about trying to build his team. I can really appreciate. Again, maybe I'm going to be proven wrong, but he seems like he's going to be the right guy for this job. He seems like he's got all the right intentions. He's got the right answers. He understands what he's looking for. He's understanding what he's trying to build. Now, again, they have to go win games. I could say that I like him all I want, but he has to go out there and put the team in the best position. Then they have to go out there and execute. It's kind of like one of the things I was talking about on Sin City Beat today when we were over there, and I said that, one of the things that I looked at in camp and I didn't see enough PBUs or enough, turnovers, like interceptions created, and I was asked, well, isn't that on the coach? I said, look, the coach could they can coach all they want, right? You can teach and coach and preach until you're blue in the face about creating turnovers and getting PBUs, but the players have to go out there and execute. Coaches coach, players play, right? Lincoln says it all the time. I personally feel, and I can only answer for myself, and I don't know if it was me who said something about coach or a caller who said they said something. I don't know. But I could tell you that this coach seems like he's going to be the guy that's going to get it done for the Raiders. He, to me, has a very Gruden 1.0 type feel, where he was a guy that was on the come up. He was proven as a guy that understands offensive football and, could relate to having a really good sharp offense, which is what the Raiders need. And especially now that they have a quarterback that they drafted number 1 overall, those two can grow together. I'm in. I think that this is the guy. Now, again, that's just me. I also thought Antonio Pierce was going to be the guy. So, and it didn't work. So, I mean, I don't mind living on that island, right, and holding that down. I'll plant that flag there and say, hey, that was me. It didn't work out for one reason or the other, right? Maybe some guys, cut it as position coaches and not head coaches. We know that that's true. Some guys, they go from position coaches, they make the transition, they work out to be really good head coaches. Obviously, we'll wait and see with Clint Kubiak, but I just feel like his approach, the way that he goes about it on the daily, being out there every day and seeing how he conducts himself with the team and others, just seems like he's the right guy for the job. Again, time will tell. We can come back to this conversation later on. So, like I said, I don't know if that was a comment that I made that you're responding to or someone else made it, but that's my response because, like I said, I can only speak for myself. So thanks for the text. Definitely appreciate you. And that, my friends, is how we do football right.
Doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke. Doing car care right.
Elgin said, can you say the word of the day more often, please? Ari, what is the word of the day today, my friend?
Refresh. R-E-F-R-E-S-H. Refresh.
There you go. Elgin, appreciate the text. And, yeah, $3,000 or the trip. Take the trip, take the cash. Brought to you by Terribles. It's the summer of fun. Yellowstone or Grand Canyon National. That is the trip this week. And then Hawaii will be our final trip, and we'll do that next week. So refresh is the word of the day. Obviously, each and every day we have a new word, and you have till 5 o'clock to go ahead. Or energize is the word of the day. Did I no, it's not. It's refresh.
Uh-oh.
Which one is it? It is refresh.
You got it.
Yeah, I might have gave away tomorrow's word.
Hey, if you're listening, jump on that.
That's what happens when you start looking over the words.
That's what happens when you don't refresh the screen.
I know. My fault. So I may have just given you a early word of the day for tomorrow.
Man is ahead of his time.
Yeah, there you go. So energize. No, just kidding. Refresh. Jesus, I'm going to give it away all day. Why don't I just give you every day?
Right. Take the paper away from Q.
Refresh, energize, breathe, swim, and hiking. Whoa. That's all week long there. I said it, so what?
We got some hardcore listeners, and I know they're going to hear all of that and be like,
I know. I don't care.
Hey, do your homework,
I done messed up. I done messed up the word so many times it don't even matter. So refresh is today's word. Tune into the morning show to get tomorrow's word.
Yes. And don't forget.
Speaking of the morning show, I feel so bad, man. I was messing with Vince so bad this morning. I could not help myself. See what happens is practice is over. I know. Practice is over, and he's sitting right next to the media tent. So he's sitting right where Clint Kubiak's going to come over or a player's going to come over or whatever. And so he's literally doing the show, and I don't know what's going on. I figure that probably Vinny's talking because I can see Vince listening. And so then I start messing with him. I start yelling, oh, is that Vince Sapienza on the radio? Is that Vince? And I'm, me, I have no inside voice.
No.
So I'm loud as all get down. And finally I hit him with the too hard for the radio, but I hit him with the Drake version. I didn't hit him with the Mac Dre version, and I hit him with the radio version of that. Did not hit him with the dirty version. But, yeah, I'm literally standing at the table. He's got, the headset on, and I'm standing there. Vince is too hard for the radio. And I'm as loud as possible. And everyone's dying. I was like, oh, Amber Theo Harris is here. James Jones is here. We're all right here. Oh, man. So I crashed the party on the morning show today.
How did he react? Like, I've never
What can he do? All he can do is laugh.
Yeah, no, and a great guy. I haven't worked with Vince a ton, but I've never really seen him get, high or low. So I was just curious if maybe he was like, I'm trying to do a show here.
He just looked at me like, of course.
All right.
Why wouldn't he walk by and just be as loud as possible?
There you go.
But that's what we do. And then I went to Fox 5, and of course he was on. He was there. He works there, so he was part of the show that we did as well, talking about the Raiders. And so he's like, "Man, I can't get rid of you. I can't shake you." And I was like, "Nope." And I'll see you early in the morning tomorrow too. So, there is that. But yeah, really good stuff. Let's see. We got all kind of texts. Oh man. I done messed everybody up, man. Everyone done texted in all week long. They sent in all kind of words already. Bert hit us with energize. Eric hit us with hiking. Eric hit us with energize. Scott hit us with refresh.
Man.
This is all your fault, Elgin.
No,
it is all your fault.
See, I'm taking a different approach, which you'll appreciate. In school, you had to listen. You had to listen to all the details, and if you missed something because you weren't paying attention, young man or woman, you would not get the answer. And so you got to pay attention to what Q just said. I'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, they paid attention.
You gave them the answers.
I gave them the answers. I gave them all week of the answers.
Too much attention, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, really good text. I appreciate that. How about this one real quick from David and San Leandro? My favorite thing I've heard so far is Mendoza will be sitting. Let the kid learn. A lot of examples of sitting the first-round quarterback, and it works out well. A question I have is, how does Linderbaum feel about this team? He's coming from a well-run, winning organization. How's he feel about the offensive line and the team? It's David and San Leandro. I mean, from everything that he said, he feels good about, the guys in the room. We threw it at him that he was tasked with being a leader, and he said we got a lot of leaders in that room, including Colton Miller. I'm sure he also feels really good about the record-breaking contract that he got as a free agent, 3 years, $81 million. That'll make you feel good about a team as well. But, I mean, not to make it about money, but he's also in a position of, hey, they're looking at you to help turn this thing around. That, to a lot of guys, is a hell of a challenge as well that they really get up for when they have that opportunity to be, a key cog. When they look back and that offensive line is where it needs to be, if in fact it gets there, hey, man, the big reason was that free agent acquisition that they brought in, Tyler Linderbaum. So, he's in a good place. He really is, and he's out there, and you could tell that he is definitely that part. He is that guy, and they need to continue to build around him. Colton Miller needs to stay healthy, and then obviously the other guys in the competition, the guard spots and even the right tackle. I think there still could be some competition there for DJ Glay. So thanks so much for that text. Do appreciate you. 702-365-9200. We'll hear from you as we close out the show. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
This is Ashton Genty of the Las Vegas Raiders, and you're listening to Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Just got a couple minutes left in today's show. It's been fun. A lot of really good feedback from you. Calls, texts. Great guests. Kirk Morrison, Omar Ruiz, Caleb Rogers, little one-on-one following practice. Definitely appreciate him. Like I said, we definitely appreciate you and want to hear from you as we close out the show here, 702-365-9200. Let's go out to Denver to a very patient Raider Dave. Raider Dave, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, thanks a lot for bringing us all the ins and outs. I'm thinking that with all the pass breakups and everything else, they're within arm's reach, so that means that the accuracy must be pretty good if it's sticky coverage, which is a good thing in a triangle, be it the quarterback, actually your quad box with the protection, the quarterback's accuracy, the types of routes that are being run crisp, and the DBs that are sticking there. Now, you and I both were DBs, so I love the walk and talk you're doing afterwards. I had to laugh when you're out of breath into 60 seconds because it ain't easy on the first day to walk all that and keep talking. But maybe by the end of this, the walk and talk can be a jogging blog, and that way I don't want to make it too hard on the camera person, but, maybe on the very last one, you backpedal. Come on, bro.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. That was actually someone presented that, too. They said, why don't you backpedal on the very last one? So that's going to be the goal.
Yeah,
I'm going to work my way up to that one.
I like it. You got it, man. Have a great week.
Hey, you do the same, man. Thanks so much for the call. Raider Dave and Denver, really good stuff. And, yeah, Brandy's on the camera crew, and she always tells me, all right, do this or do that. She gives us a bunch of directions, and the very first walk and talk I did, she said I walked too fast, and so that's why I ran out of breath halfway through it. The second one, she said I did a lot better. Today I think I went a little fast as well, but we got it done. Yesterday was kind of cool because I didn't the sprinklers. That was actually take two. I went on the first one, and the sprinklers hit me, which was kind of cool because it was so hot out, so I didn't mind. But then we were about to walk by while David Carr and Omar Ruiz were talking to Max. So Raiders PR was like, shh, y'all be quiet. So I was like, we're going to have to take two. So I had to stop and wait, and that's why I sat there and was sitting on the bleachers listening to them talk, because then I realized, like, all right, I'm just going to wait until this is over, and then I'm going to go and do it again. So that's why we were able to do it twice. And so, that's the goal. By the last one is to backpedal the whole time and do it. We'll see. See if I'll bust my backside. That'll be hilarious. What happened to Q? Yeah, he thought he was still an athlete. Not at all. Shields up. You're up next, man. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q, I just got one thing to say, one thing only. Shields up to Raider Nation. Love you all. We're getting close. Peace out.
Boom. There you go. Hey, that's a mic drop moment right there. I like that. Shields up with the quick check-in and salute to Raider Nation, and then he's gone. Let's see. Charles hit us on the text line. Charles in Oregon. Hey, guys, just took an energizing hike. That was refreshing. Anyway, I was listening to the morning tailgate while Vinny was talking, and I hear Q yelling in the background. That was so funny. He's everywhere. Kubiak is the right guy. Best thing he said this morning, words are just words. They don't mean anything. He knows it's about efficiency and production. Nothing to be disappointed about yet. It's too early. Patient. Trust Kubiak. He sees the big picture. That's refreshing. That's Charles in Oregon. Really good text. Appreciate that. Good stuff. And let's see. What else do we have? I know I got a couple more that I wanted to get to real quick. Leo from the IE. Q, get that AC on at the – oh, damn it. And then it just moved. Of course, that's what happens. Hold on. Sorry, Leo. Q, get that AC on and that Vegas heat down. I'm on my way to camp tomorrow, but to answer your question, I'm excited to happen to see the coaching and conditioning staff spraying that bug spray and keeping out that injury bug that's killing some teams. Let's get through camp healthy for once. That's Leo from the IE. Health is important. Health has been really important, and for the most part, they have been good. Little bumps and bruises here and there, which you're expecting, but there has been some injury bug, and knock on wood that it doesn't hit the Raiders, but there has been some around the league already, and a lot of times that has been the Raiders. But for the most part, everybody's been really good, and you know it's been positive to see a guy like Jamad McCoy out there every single day. You know, and I never know, okay, is he going to be out there today? Is he going to be limited? But for the first day of pads and for him to be, you know, to be out there healthy and playing and to see him and Masses out there with the ones together at a certain stage and running with the twos at a certain stage together, we had never seen them both, you know, man in each corner position, right? I mean, so that was a positive as well. I just think that they're going to continue to get better and better, and I would not be shocked if we see Masses as a starter across from Stokes week 1 versus Miami. But again, that's me getting well ahead of myself. They've only had 5 practices, but that's the way it's trending because he does look really good so far early on in camp. Let's see. We don't have much time left. I was trying to see. Well, there you go. There you go. I guess that's the last text I'm going to get to, Ari, because now I'm going to waste too much time looking for him. But we did get a lot of great feedback, and we do appreciate that. Of course, we'll be back out there tomorrow morning. The morning tailgate will be broadcasted live from practice starting at 7 a.m. Vince Sapienza will be out there. Of course, we'll be reporting to you everything that we get to see, everything that we get to hear, and just continuing to see how they continue to grow as they're putting together this 2026 team. So you know what it is, man. 2 to 5 p.m. We'll be here for you on Unnecessary Roughness. So have a fantastic night. Appreciate you. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.